Good evening and welcome to round 4 the IFSC Lead World Cups of 2016. My name is Charlie Bosco. I've got US climber Sean Bailey alongside me, and we are live in the beautiful Austrian town of Imst. Sitting in the Tyrol region of Austria, 50 kilometres west of Innsbruck and home to just under 10,000 people, Imst sits at 828 metres above sea level, nestled beneath the Carvendel mountain range. And unfortunately the mountains delivered the sort of weather that mountains normally do. It was very sunny this morning, hot and sunny. We had a heavy rain shower and it's kind of grey and overcast now. Sean, you climbed on this wall in the qualifiers a couple of days ago. Let's get it out of the way. How did your qualifying round go?
Not the best.
But how was the wall to climb on and what was the Imst experience like?
It's cool, like for me, my first ever Youth World Championships was here, so I was really stoked to come back. I haven't been since. So yeah, it's just a cool experience.
And you're doing the kind of climber on the road thing right now, just moving around Europe. Just tell us before we get stuck into the competition what your plans are and what you're up to right now.
Right now I'm just trying to stay fit, get prepared for the next competition, and then get ready for Paris.
See there, the peaks of the Carvendel, the mountain range is just behind us here in Imst. Fantastic view. More for the belayers than the climbers. Climbers have got other things to worry about. But as you can see, the bad weather there. We've got some cloud lingering in the valley. It is beginning to clear though, and we're hoping for dry conditions. We had extremely heavy rain about 2 hours ago. The routes just about stayed dry. You can see there, that is the live weather in Imst. Lovely little town. And yesterday during the semi-finals I proudly told the world that it was in the Vorarlberg region. It's actually in the Tyrol region. I stand corrected. Geography and maths not my strong point, it would seem. And there's the climbers on stage, men on the left, women on the right. We'll quickly run you down the starting order, and handily enough the climbers are already in order. From left to right we'll have Stefano De Solfi out first in the men's competition. He'll be followed by Han Wul Kim. Jakob Schubert in front of a home crowd. You see him there with the green sleeves and the black gilet. In the all green with the unmistakable red haircut, Sebastian Hellenke. He had a finger issue, a big cut in his finger that was affecting him for the first few World Cups, particularly the last two. He seemed to be fully back on form, qualified 5th. Then we've got Gautier Zuppert, Roman de Grange, Doan Skufic, and right at the end of the line there, Ramon Julien. Not quite been himself this season. Rumours abound that he is trying to peak for Paris, which is why he wasn't climbing as well as he can do in the first few rounds. He's now approaching top form. He certainly looked at it yesterday, the only climber to top the men's route. In the women's event, we'll start on the right. We have Tiaza Calon of Slovenia. She'll be followed by Julia Chanaudy of France, and Sophie Collet, Jane Kim of Korea, Magdalena Rock. Again, climbing in front of a home crowd there in the red trousers. She'll be out 5th. Then it'll be Janja Garnbret, Mina Markovic, and Anna Verhoeven. See Anna there in the all black. As the climbers begin their inspection period. We actually, Sean and I got ushered off the stage because we were actually there checking the routes out just as the climbers are, and then we realised the presentation was about to start, so we had to leg it in quite quickly. Sean, you had a good look at these routes. What are your first impressions?
They look cool, they look hard, they look really consistent. It doesn't look like you really get any good rest positions. The starts of both of them look quite tricky. The top looks powerful on both men's and women's routes.
Yeah, this wall here at Imst starts off not massively steep and then it just gets gradually steeper, and by the top it's plumb horizontal. Girls are just figuring out the lower section. You can see the two Slovenians there, Mina Markovic, there she is. And in the pink as well, closer to the camera, Janja Garnbrett. What's your tactics, Sean? You a guy that shares your beta?
Yeah, I mean, my philosophy is I want my competitors to have all the beta, and I want to have all the beta, and I just want to see who's the best, personally.
Hopefully get a bit of a glimpse of this whole route. There we go. So we see the lower section, not too steep. Very chatting to the route setters. I anticipate that most of the girls should make it at least this far, but they'd be very surprised if anyone was to fall off much before this sort of 3-volume area that we're looking at now. Then we get a third change in angle on this panel. This is where we're expecting to see the girls begin to fall off. As I say, anything could happen, but this is just what the route setters tell us. And we see there just how steep this wall gets. Not quite horizontal, but probably only 10 degrees off. And you can see there, yeah, where they're clearing behind the wall. Here's the men. Good to see Sebastian Halenka back in a final. He had a really nasty cut on his finger in the first World Cup in Chamonix. It opened up in the final. And in Wieland Briançon, he was 26th on both occasions. So he'll be glad to be back in the final. Finger injury, apparently it's back to normal, but with things like cuts, particularly on fingers, it's always quite hard to tell just how healed they are until you really pull down. But Sebastian climbed really well yesterday. Not expecting any issues. Great also to have Ramone back in the final. As I say, he's not quite been himself this season, possibly aiming to peak for a month or so from now in Paris. Sean, you'll be coming to Paris. Have you tailored your training towards it? What's your tactic been for 2016?
That's a hard question to answer. Mostly I just want to train to kind of ride out this entire summer and try to perform as well as I could at every event. I spent a good bit of time in St. Eustace as well, so I wanted to go perform there. So I wasn't trying to get any peak necessarily. I just wanted to be able to be pretty consistent for like 3 months.
Are there any standout routes you did at Seus?
I managed to do a biography, so that was sweet.
It's a pretty good result. Just for the viewers out there that might not have been to Seus or don't follow outdoor climbing, just tell us what biography is. You can big yourself up a bit. Come on, now's your chance.
Beat myself up. All right, well, biography, first 15A.
That's 9A plus.
9A plus.
In European money.
And yeah, it's just a super cool route. It's legendary. So I really wanted to test myself against it. And yeah, I mean, I ended up getting it done pretty quick. It took me like a week, so I was really stoked.
And how's life been on the road in Europe this year? You enjoying the constant movement and seeing Europe?
Yeah, it's cool. It's nice to get a shift. You know, train for so long, spend so many hours in the gym, and to finally get the chance to just go on, enjoy yourself, perform a little bit at some of these competitions. It's super cool. It's like, that's all I could ask for.
And for those people that might not be familiar with you beyond the World Cup circuit, just tell us where you're based, what you get up to.
Yeah, well, I'm originally from Seattle. Right now I'm based in San Diego and working as a coach and as a route setter at Mesa Rim. And I've just been focusing on training, focusing on trying to climb as much as I can and perform like this summer. So I've spent so many hours in the gym lately. Now I'm just climbing.
I kind of feel I should have spent a few more hours in the gym. See there, the climbers have got this inspection period. We've got the clock counted down, 50 seconds to go. They have to head inside. Shortly after that, the first climbers will be out.
In the indoor center of the climbing hall. No more chance to take a look on these routes.
See, the climbers found some potential heel hooks here. When we chat to the route setters, there is a hidden knee bar in this men's lead final route. Whether they will find it is another matter. The route setter was pointed out to us Can't say it looked amazingly obvious even when you knew where it was.
Yeah, it wasn't the most obvious, definitely.
Sebastian Halenka always doing his own thing in life and in climbing.
So the time is over.
That is time up.
Ladies and gents, please.
Judges ushering the climbers back in.
Back. So, bitte zurücktreten.
Always takes a little bit.
Yeah, it's often quite funny. The climbers know the time's up and the judges start to usher them, and just that last final look, kind of walking backwards through the door into the isolation area again.
Is over.
Romain de Grange really not sticking to the 6-minute observation period. Neither Sebastian Halenka or Gautier Zupper.
Every second counts, you know?
Yeah.
Every little bit of information.
Maybe we should invest in some slightly bigger, burlier judges. So we're just going to recap the starting list for you. Then we see the crowd in Imst. It has only just stopped raining. There are plenty more people over in the bar. First out in the men's competition, we'll have Stefano Solfi. Hanwoo Kim will be out next. He'll be followed by Jakob Schubert, Sebastian Halenka, Gautier Zupper, Romain de Grange, Domen Skofic, and Ramon Julian. He'll be out last, having topped the route in the semi-final, the only man to do so, and won that round.
The regiments, all other ones are out of the climbing area.
And in the women's competition, Charles Callum will be out first. We had a very tightly contested women's semi-final last night. Go check it out on YouTube if you haven't already seen it. She'll be followed out by Julia Chanaudy and Sophie Collet, Jane Kim. Magda Rock, sure to get a good reception from this Austrian crowd. And then two Slovenians, Jani Gambra and Mina Markovic, and they'll be followed by Anak Bahun. She actually got the same score in the semi-finals yesterday as Mina Markovic. But count back to the qualifying round, Anak, in inverted commas, won the semi-finals, so she'll climb last. Just to remind you, the climbers go in reverse order from how they qualified. So if you qualify first in the semi-final, you climb last in the final. And that is not a very relaxed looking climber coming out. It's just our jury president. So the crowd are ready, the judges are ready. So are we. Sean, I'm going to put you on the spot now. If you're a betting man, where's your money going tonight in this men's competition?
Man, oh, I don't know. Ramon was looking so solid yesterday, but it's hard to say. You know, all these guys are so strong, they're so fit, so you can really go to any of them. I think it's whoever has the best day and is really liking this route. This route looks a little bit tricky, so I think it'll flip for a couple of climbers. It might not flip for a couple other climbers.
Live on stage here in Imst.
Yeah, it's an interesting match race actually. It's, as we said earlier, very sustained. Nothing resembling a good rest. Not much in the way of rest at all actually. So it's going to be a fascinating final. Last night the semi-final was amazing. You can check out the replay on YouTube. It was a long semi-final. I think we were on just under 3 3/4 hours. It was a long semi, but held your interest right to the end. We had some extraordinary climbing right at the end. And my co-commentator, Caleb Thomas, came out with some quite extraordinary comments. It'd be fair to say that he uses industrial language at times, which obviously on the IFSC live stream is banned. So he replaced it with holy macaroni. That was one of the big highlights. The memes have already appeared all over Google Images. He went for a peaky peak. That was another one that seemed to go quite viral on social media. Well, we'll check you out just for the off-the-wall commentary from Caleb last night. Don't forget, you can let us know what you think. You can ask any questions. You might have Sean Bailey, winner of the USA Sport Climbing Nationals this year. Get it yourself on Twitter, hashtag IFSCWC. Just waiting for the first male climb. Slightly behind the schedule. Yeah, sure, we're just hanging on 5 minutes for the first climb. So there's a slight delay, we're not quite sure what it is, but we'll try and find out for you. In the meantime, what are your plans after Imst? You're still on the road for a bit. Tell us what you're going to be getting up to. Where can people see you climb?
Still on the road. stop in Slovenia for a little bit, get a little bit of training before competing in Arco, and then maybe back to Slovenia again, train a little more, go to Paris.
Das ist ein Vorteil, eher als Erster nach der Observation wieder hinaussteigen zu können. Perhaps.
I should point out actually, it was chatting to Sharon yesterday, found out we didn't have somewhere to stay, so he came and stayed with me in Innsbruck last night, which is cool, but it made me feel very old. I'm suddenly the guy that's offering the couch to climbing bums rather than being the climbing bum myself. Made me feel really old.
Yeah, that's much appreciated.
I did get a lift to Innsbruck and back, so it was a good deal for me too.
Jetzt heute im Finale antretenden Finalisten und Nationen. Natürlich hier.
It's Stefano just off rehearsal. Torino, Turin, which speakers out there. You can see straight into this men's route. No pushover to start.
Yeah, this climbing at the bottom doesn't look super powerful, but it does look tricky. So I think if you climb it a little bit off, you could lose a lot of energy.
Yeah, the men's route follows this blunter red. Stefano's got his left hand on right now. Just above him here, holes do run out slightly.
Yeah.
Okay, so as I say, that was the slightly blank section. He moves left now, and you can see just above his hands where the angle of the wall changes.
Yeah, it looks after this section, it starts to get a little bit more powerful, and I think that's where they're really going to start losing some energy.
Yes, Stefano just climbing carefully up to here, trying not to use any energies. Obviously sussed out as well, but it's very sustained climbing above him.
So it looks like it's just taking a little bit to rest. It's looking quite relaxed, super relaxed, so we'll see how it goes for him. I think he's going to start on this next section.
Die überhängende Zone, die Sektion, die dann immer über jeder wird, 14 Meter bis zum Top hinaus.
I think this is where maybe that mantle was that we're getting told about in the rest areas.
Yeah, there is a quite difficult mantle about a third of the way up this men's route.
Seemed to make it look pretty trivial though.
All climbers have the same basics. You have your observation.
It's had a good season so far. Unfortunately, 9th in the last two competitions. In a way, the worst position to come because you're so close to making the final. Stefano, 9th in Briançon, 9th in Villars, 2nd in Chamonix, first time out. So this is his second final in 4 events.
Super relaxed considering.
Very experienced climber. It's a long time.
Looks like he found a small knee bar for his left leg. Looks like he's getting a little bit back right here.
Entering the meat of this route. And then not quite on in our shot here, he's going to move up and left onto the these blue balls. That one you see there on the left, that's the first of 3. They go up and left.
Yeah, super slopey, a lot of compression, really powerful. So I think there's a feat for this next section.
Yeah, the route setters, one of the route setters, who got named because it's quite a funny comment, but he said if the climbers are cool, they'll camp us this bit. Maybe they'll use his feet. Stefano uses his feet.
I see.
See here already, this men's route getting pretty physical.
Yeah, it looks really important to just keep moving on this section. Whenever you're grabbing slopey holds like that, it's really hard to get anything back a lot of times. It's really fast as quick as
We can hear you.
Don't forget, if you've got any questions for Sean Bailey, IFSC athlete, Live Beast, get yourself on Twitter, hashtag IFSCWC.
Hier bei Weltcup-Finale Imst. So, und jetzt wird von der Schwierigkeitsstufe nochmals getoppt.
Looks like Stefano's found another small rest.
He's nearing the steepest section of this men's wall.
So let's go! Yes,
And that's the hidden knee bar there. It's kind of a semi knee bar. We'll try and see it from a better angle. Here we go. So we're just to the left of the quick draw. There's a hole with 3 chalk marks on it. That's where the knee bar is. So Stefano hadn't found it. He'd found an alternative one, but it seemed to work. And Stefano off just as he tries to come around that roof. We see the venue MC there, just doing some live interviews on stage. We'll be hoping to speak to plenty of the climbers live later on.
Thank you very much.
Yes, it'd be interesting to see a replay of Stefano there. Doesn't look too happy with that performance. Couldn't quite hear what he said. Let's have another look. Yeah, that grey volume section on the men's route, it's going to stop quite a few climbers, we expect.
Yeah, he really didn't look too tired, but a lot of times these guys are super good at hiding it, so it's hard to say.
So next out we'll have Hamil Kim of Korea. 1 Korean in the men's and 1 Korean in the women's final here in Imst. The local MC here, he's certainly been earning his crust. He had a huge day on the qualifiers. When was that? Yesterday?
Yesterday, yeah.
Yesterday. I'm already losing track of time. and in the very long semi-finals, as I say, last night was over 3.5 hours semi-finals. So he's certainly earning his crust. Venue DJ often provokes a lot of debate at most of the World Cups. He certainly did last night. I think I'd describe his performance as hit and miss. A few hits, few misses.
Depends who you ask, I figure.
And we'll remember the climbers do get a short observation, individual observation period before they start climbing. So a bit like last night, we've got a almost bouldery start. We saw that in the semi-finals last night. This wall here in Imst, it doesn't get steep until quite far on, so the route setters try and add interest by adjusting the climbing styles, so that even though it's not super steep, we still get some real interesting climbing. They managed it last night, doing a good job, it would seem, so far, repeating it this evening.
Looks like he's going for a slightly different method than Stefano.
Yeah, this is his first World Cup final handwool. Not too far off in the 2 World Cups he's entered so far. 15th in Vila, 11th in Briançon. And this is the, we'll call it the blank section. It's always good to start creating a few landmarks on the routes so we can start to grasp how the climbers are getting on. You can see there as well, bottom right of your screen, we've got the time. The wall here in Imst is enormous. It's about 21, 22 meters. Time will be an issue. No problem so far on the move left.
Doesn't look like he liked this section quite as much as Stefano, but he got through it just fine.
Now this is the tricky mantle shelf. There we go.
Using the knee.
Uses a bit of knee, yeah. As a British climber, I like that. An integral part of the British climber's makeup, the ability to use the knee tactically.
Yeah.
British climbers will all be familiar with that moment of panic when your knee goes into a crack or a corner and won't come out. No such worries for competition climbers, luckily.
Looking like he's kind of struggling to find the right method here, but that looks like it worked just fine.
And well, yeah, as you say, not looking quite so relaxed as Stefano Gisolfi, but it is his first World Cup final, an element of nerves. Do you find that when you're competing that you get nervous, and if so, does it make you climb better or worse?
Yeah, I mean, I think the nerves definitely make me climb a little bit worse, but I normally do a pretty good job of managing it. Right before I step off the ground, it's always the worst, but as soon as I start climbing, I can normally, like, kind of put it behind me and just focus on the route when it's going well. Sometimes that's not the case.
Are there any mental strategies you use for people that are watching this and they want to relax more when they're climbing? Is there any specific technique you use?
Definitely, I think that it's so simple, but breathing is always the best thing. I always try to find something I can focus on. If I just focus on a couple deep breaths, it normally helps calm my mind a little bit.
So this again, the 3 blobs, I think we'll call it. 3 blob section. Let's say the route setters, from their description, it sounded like it would be a really powerful section, but the climbers so far seeming to cruise it. Just heard Hamwell Kim's name being shouted out by the venue MC. As I say, it's had a busy few days. So this, you can tell from there just how on the crest of this arete the men's route really is.
Yeah, this is where it's really important, I think, to know exactly what you want to do.
What's
Wow.
Hamwell,
Oh. Almost saved it. So close.
almost saved it.
Yeah.
That was a fight to right the end from Hamwell Kim. He was, looked as if he was off, then he was on again. Unfortunately, then he was off again.
Yeah, I think he just lost a little efficiency the whole way up the thing. I think it definitely, there's a few sections he could have climbed a little bit differently.
I think there might be a slight language barrier there, unfortunately, for the venue MC. I'm not sure, but I think Hamwell Kim was saying, no, no, no. I'm not doing an interview in my second language. Struggling to get his knot undone. It was quite spectacular to watch, though. He fought and fought, but once his feet came off, he never quite looked like recovering it. Really struggling to get his knot undone here. Belay's helping him out. What, again, for people that might be watching this and looking to improve their own climbing, you were saying that Hamill perhaps wasn't as efficient as he could have been. Again, do you have any techniques, anything you repeat, any mantras you repeat to yourself when you're climbing, anything that people could do that would make them more efficient?
Yeah, it really depends on the route, so it can change depending on the style, but something like this, I think I would really try to focus on relaxing as much as I can, and whenever you're on these slabbier routes, if you put all your weight into your feet, you can oftentimes gain a lot of efficiency, but I think he was a little uncomfortable with his feet maybe, so he was pulling a lot with his arms.
Okay, and I believe we can speak to Stefano Gisolfi.
Hi.
Hey Stefano, tell us your first impressions of the route.
The route is really weird because the wall is quite slabby, so there are a lot of mentals or volumes, so it's a weird route. It's not usual to have a route like this in a World Cup final.
And when you fell in the grey volumes, did you make a mistake? Did you read the route wrong? Apologies if you couldn't hear Stefano there. We're just having a few issues with our sound. Sorry, Stefano, can you say that again? Afraid we lost Stefano. Apologies for that. Thanks for speaking to us anyway for Stefano. Apologies. He just seemed to disappear. I'm not sure what the issue was there. One or two technical problems. As he said, quite an unusual World Cup final route though. One man that knows this wall well, Jakob Schubert, there he is. Competes in both lead and boulder, so these slightly unusual starts for a lead climbing competition shouldn't trouble him too much, you wouldn't have thought. Although we said that yesterday in the semi-final, and he really didn't look very comfortable on the lower bouldery section.
He's already climbing a lot different than the other two competitors. He's going really quick. I think he's just trying to get through this as fast as he can.
Yeah, it's interesting to keep an eye on the time. 7:15 left on the clock. Hanwoo Kim was at least 20 seconds behind, and we're only 5 quick draws in.
Yeah, I think he used about 2 minutes to get to where Jakob is right now.
You know Jakob very well. What do you make of him as a climber, and how is it to compete against him?
It's cool to compete against him. I've been watching him for a lot of years. Finally got the chance to meet him this year, and yeah, he's a cool dude. He's really strong. He's really confident. He's had a couple rough ones this season, so I think he's stoked to get another shot at it, for sure.
Yeah, he's not been on the kind of form we know he's capable of this year, although he's made every final. Not been a terrible season by any means. Third, first time out in Chamonix, then he followed that up with a 6th in Vila and then an 8th in Briançon. I should point out though, his 8th in Briançon, his foot slipped off while he was resting. Of course, conditions were terrible in Briançon, but the conditions are the same for every competitor. Jakob didn't complain about it. But yeah, he did slip just while resting in Briançon. Would have been interesting to see what he could have done had he carried on.
Yeah, but I believe on the ground he showed the bottom of his shoe and the entire thing was soaked.
Yeah, I remember him showing it to the camera as if to say, this isn't really suitable for climbing. But as I say, conditions are the same for everyone, and he recognised that. So if you're just joining us, we are live in Imst for this final of this 4th World Cup, the IFSC Lead Season 2016. US Nationals champion Sean Bailey is alongside me. And you can get involved by getting yourself on Twitter, #IFSCWC. We got Jakob Schubert in the world. climbing in front of almost a home crowd, 45 minutes away from home.
Jakob's finally taking the chance to rest a little bit. You can see him calming his breath too.
Yeah, he was out the blocks very quickly. And Jakob now is on to, as I say, what we call the blob section, the 3 blobs. Jakob, no problem with those 3 blobs. The route setters did envisage, that they'd cause some problems, but don't seem to have done so far. We're actually big cheer for the crowd, as I say. Jakob from the same region of Austria, and it is just down the road. You gotta love a World Cup where you sleep in your own bed. Looking really strong here, Jakob Schubert. Fighting hard, but he hasn't looked as if he's really been taxed just yet. But Jan Kim, we saw his feet pop off on this very section when he was out previously. No such problems for Jakob, really powering through this tough, steep section. It only gets steeper above him though. Still hasn't reached the high point of Stefano Gonsalvi. Later this week we're going to be filming a profile with Jakob Schubert, so stay tuned for that over the next month or so. We're going to follow him around, watch him do some climbing, get one of our DJI drones. Easy for me to say. Get one of them in the sky, get some amazing footage of him. Got some questions we want to ask him, and as I say, we will be producing a 5-minute profile of him, so stay tuned on the IFSC Facebook page for that. Very interesting guy, but I'll say no more until the profile comes out.
He's fighting really hard right now, looks.
So he's not even looking for the knee bar, as I say, it's by his left elbow, but he's either hasn't spotted it or choose not to use it. You can see the fatigue just beginning to kick in, but you can also see what an issue time is here. Already down to 2:15 on the clock.
Yeah, it's crazy. He hasn't really been climbing that slow either.
And far from it, no, he's been setting a real pace. 2 minutes ago, you'd have thought that should be enough if he can keep climbing. But this volume section, this is where Stefano Gonsalvi fell. So he'll take an early lead, Jakob Schubert. Crowd really enjoying this.
Wow.
Now then, this left torpedo that he's got his left hand on, there's a heel hook. Will he find it? Yes, he does. Again, the route setters tell us that was one of the absolute keys to doing this next section. Jakob spotted it immediately, and he used it well.
Wow, still fighting really hard.
And he's powering onto the top section of this route. 1 minute 30 left. Climbing fast early on, paying dividends now. He waits the crowd. Great effort from Jakob Schubert. Gave that absolutely 100%.
Yeah, I think had he gotten that right foot up, he might have been able to do a couple more moves, but he was looking tired. I think that was a really good fight.
22 meters at this difficulty is some distance to climb. We could see there, Jakob.
Winded.
He's winded, trying to answer the questions to the MC. Looks like he'd rather just have 30 seconds to himself, but
at least untie.
Exactly, at least untie. God, no, straight into his media duties. Feet had barely touched the ground. And we've seen it a few times from Jakob Schubert. He is wearing an integrated harness integrated into his shorts. Don't worry, he didn't just do that route with the rope tied around his waist, old school style. Got a couple of questions on Twitter. Don't forget, you can ask Sean Bailey, IFSC athlete, any questions you might like, get yourself on Twitter, hashtag IFSCWC. Chris Youngman wants to know, what is the best belay device for lead competitions and why?
I think the one you're most comfortable with, definitely. Yeah, I mean, they all work, right? So whatever you're comfortable with is always a good call.
See that Stefano and Jakob just discussing the finer points of the route, and Jakob finally gets to sit down and catch his breath. Here's the unmistakable figure of Sebastian Halenka.
Wow, really gunning it.
I love watching him climb. He comes out and does this every time. Just kind of a 10-second version of the route in his head. He always scurries out onto the stage. He doesn't stroll out. He doesn't really acknowledge the crowd. He just straight to business. He's great to watch. Just a bundle of energy.
Yeah, super focused. Super focused.
Also, we're going to be doing some filming with Sebastian in the next week or so. So again, stay tuned for that. There was you thinking we just went on holiday in between the World Cups. No, no, no. As I say, great to see him back. He was very frustrated. He's always in good spirits, but was beginning to get slightly down about the fact that something as minor as a cut on one pad of one of his fingers was holding him back in the last few World Cups. But whatever he's been doing to heal it has obviously worked. Back to full strength. Took part in the Munich Boulder World Cup as well. Didn't make the semi-finals, which is why if you watched our live coverage you won't have seen him.
He's looking pretty comfortable.
Yeah, as I say, it's a bundle of energy, and that translated into the first section of this route. And I believe that very shortly we're going to be able to speak to Jakob Schubert. In the meantime, we'll concentrate on Sebastian Halenka. Just got the rope cut under his toe there. There we go. Freeze it now. So we heading up, and then he'll move left into the three blobs.
Finally taking a little rest here.
Yes. And I believe we can speak live to Jakob Schubert. Jakob, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
How was that, competing in front of an almost home crowd?
Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah, I really enjoyed to get to climb in a final route again after slipping in VR and Briançon.
And how did you find the route? It looked as if you were climbing quite fast, but you almost got timed out. This wall is so big here in Imst.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are really big rests in the route. It's actually a lot, like the start of the route is a lot easier than I expected, pretty much up to the roof. Actually, the hardest thing about this route was for me, and I think to the climbers I talked to already that climbed as well, that it was really complicated to read at the top. And yeah, the routes here are just really long, and 6-minute observation time is really short for such a long route, and we didn't really got enough time to read the top of it perfectly. So I was just doing quick decisions up there.
Well, it was great to watch you. We saw how hard you fought, so thank you very much for talking to us, and go and relax.
Thank you.
That was Jakob Schubert there. As I say, he still looked out of breath from his efforts. And we're back with Sebastian Halenka. He's already through the three blobs. Did that slightly more dynamically than some of the climbers we've seen. Feet cut loose, but he stayed on. Work his way up the parallel triangular volumes. This is where Hanwoo Kim slipped. Very solid from Sebastian. So we can see now he's about to enter the very steepest section of the wall. And the knee bar that the route set has put in, none of the climbers have yet spotted. It's just visible there. He thought about clipping. Sebastian thinks better of it.
He's looking super relaxed still.
Sebastian Hallenker, 21 years old. Certainly a man with a big future in competition climbing. Taking something resembling a good rest here, just before committing to this up section. So I was about to say earlier, you can see hidden behind the quick draw, there's 3 chalk marks, 3 tick marks. That's where the route setters have installed a knee bar. As yet, nobody has used it. Hanwell Kim had already fallen by this stage. Stefano Gisolfi fell from the triangular volume right at the top of your screen there. Jakob Schubert went further than we can see on our screen right now, and he has an early lead. Sebastian taking a really long rest here. Our clock seems to have disappeared. I'm not sure where that's gone. Be interesting to see how much time he used up there.
Skipping this clip.
So again, doesn't seem to have clocked the knee bar. Here he comes into this white triangular volume section. As I say, this Stefano Gisolfi came off on the next move. I think it'll be the next move he makes. Going for that highest bolt-on volume that you can see.
Sebastian's found another rest here. He's looking extremely mellow right now. I think he's got a really good shot at this next section.
He is. We can see the clock's reappeared. He fired up that lower section because he's still got plenty of time left, you would have thought. Still over a minute and a half. That is a bit of a surprise. Sebastian Hallenker looked like he was having no trouble with that section there.
Didn't use that left heel hook though. I think that's definitely really crucial.
No, as we mentioned with Jakob, it's a crucial heel hook. And again, as soon as his feet touch the ground, also a bit like Jakob, just needs 30 seconds to get his breath back. We're just going to have a quick recap of the results. I believe that'll put Sebastian Hallenker, into second place. It does. There we see it. So Jakob Schubert, he would be a popular winner here. Sebastian Hallenker takes a provisional second, Stefano Gisolfi provisional third, and Hanwell Kim fell relatively low. He's in fourth. You see our wall here in Imst. Amazing setting for what's an amazing wall in itself, but the setting is extraordinary. If the camera was facing the other way, we'd have a great look at the sun setting, or what's left of the sunset, on the Carvendel range. So we've got a question here for Sean Bailey, our IFSC athlete, from Magdalena Tomkovics. You'll have to excuse me, Magdalena. What do you think about the lead routes turning more and more boulder in style?
Personally, I like it. I think it's interesting. It's interesting to watch, and it's interesting to climb on. They've started to involve a lot more tension on all these routes, and I think it's just more difficult. It takes a lot more skill and a lot more focus to be able to be successful. So I like it. Yeah.
We see there Sebastian Hellenka slipping off. Didn't find the heel hook on that left volume, that left torpedo volume, and him and Jakob comparing notes. Jakob getting really involved. He seems to just be holding court, sitting on the edge of the route, seeing who takes the lead off him, if anyone. Next out, I have Gautier's upper. Just going back to that question about the lead and the boulder. When we say the routes are becoming more bouldery, what's your interpretation of that? When you say the routes are becoming more bouldery, what exactly do you mean to people that might not watch both disciplines?
Well, what it means is that they're getting a lot more powerful. There's a lot less rest positions. Sometimes they're going to be shorter now too, less movements. Yeah, so it's a lot more on you, and you don't get as much of a chance to just relax and breathe. You really got to stay focused the whole way through.
You can see there's some of our crowd here in Imst. There's also another area up above there. Theoretically for the VIPs, but I saw a few climbers in there. A few of our IFSC athletes. I was giving them a bit of a hard time about being in the VIP area. They'll let anyone in these days. So here's Gautier Supper. He's a man you know well.
Well enough. I've talked to him a few times. I know he's a really powerful climber, so I think this one could suit him. There's so much compression on this thing. I think it's good for him, but we'll have to see how he does on it.
Yeah, had a bit of an interesting season, I think you could say, old Gautier. Just having a few issues getting himself established on this route. Here he goes. But already 30 seconds since leaving the ground. And his initial moves just causing a bit of confusion. Yeah, I was about to say, interesting season for him so far. 4th in Chamonix and Briançon, but didn't make the final in Villars, 13th. If you watch, if you keep an eye on our IFSC Facebook page, you'll know that he only just made it to isolation in time in Villars. It did seem to affect his climbing somewhat. But he was second overall in 2015 in the Lead World Cups, and the man he was second to, Adam Ondra, is not here this year. So Gautier has to be considered a serious contender, but as I say, this year not quite clicked. 2 fourth places, not terrible results by any means, but after winning a couple of World Cups last year, he'll want to be back on the podium at least in the near future.
It's looking like he's liking this position quite a lot. Totally different method for getting through that. It looked really, really good for him. A big family, the sport climbers. This important string also comparable with other sports.
Gautier really seems to have found his rhythm here. 6 minutes still on the clock. He's slow initially, already sped up though.
It looks like he's not taking any long rests, but he's spending a little bit on every single one of these holds to take a quick chalk and a quick shake. He always keeps moving.
See, that's a great shot of this men's route. Follows this huge arête. The climbers go right and left of it. The quick draws a clip to the right of it. So they're right of it more than they're left, but you can see here he'll come right over onto the other side of it.
Yeah, it's such a cool feature to climb on. I think it's the coolest feature on this wall.
So Gautier using up quite a bit of time here. It's not an amazing rest set. Already 3 minutes gone. And as I say, these Those 3 blobs that we expected to see causing a few more problems so far. Not really causing any issues for any of the climbers.
Looks like he's starting to move a little bit faster.
And I believe we can speak to Sebastian Hallenker.
Hello.
Sebastian, that was great to watch. You were full of energy as ever. How was it to be back in a final?
Well, thank you first of all, and yeah, it was an amazing thing to be finally back again in finals after the last 2 comps that were so hard and after a season that generally started pretty tough for me. And yeah, I was very psyched to climb the route, and it was a good fun, yeah.
And we've had a question on Twitter here. Do you enjoy watching the other competitors, and does it make you want to have another go?
I mean, yeah, for sure. I'm always really glad to see the other climbers, especially when I've climbed the route before and I know how it feels like. It always makes me so curious to see, like, how are the others doing in that route. And of course, it also makes me excited sometimes when I see a better beta from other people to reclimb the route.
Okay, we'll go and watch, enjoy, and relax. Thank you for talking to us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your questions on Twitter. Don't forget, hashtag IFSCWC. So we see already Gautier. It seemed as if he was climbing really slowly down on the route, but he's making the time up. Stefano Gisolfi fell from the hold, the highest triangular hold, directly above Gautier's head. That one. Sebastian Hallenker fell from the 3 torpedo-shaped volumes up and left.
Looks super important to maintain tension through this section. I think if your feet come off, you're on the ground, definitely.
So the left torpedo, heel hook, will make life a lot easier. Jakob Schubert spotted it straight away.
Yeah, and Gautier sees it too, but little struggle.
There is actually, you can see it there, perfect angle, a little bolt on for the heel hook.
Wow, it's crazy. He's taking a rest here. I mean, look at that hold. It's awful. That's crazy.
That is a terrible hold,
Yeah.
but Gutier's up and no problem with it.
Oh, he doesn't see the screw on though. That could be a problem.
Yeah, you could see.
He's trying to go for the wrap, but
It's really hard to see it.
oh no, that's a real bummer. I think had he seen that screw on, he could have gone for quite a few more moves, but it's hard to catch everything on such complex routes.
It's in there. You see, there is a bolt on. He must have seen it, surely. Perhaps not.
Komplett außer Atem. Ja, nicht ganz geschafft, aber trotzdem. Auch hier reiht er sich jetzt ein nach den Vorredner, viertgestarteten Halbzeitrase Timoschenko. Thank you very much. See you later.
You see it again. Yeah, I wonder if he did see that bolt on. Maybe just literally didn't see it.
Yeah, I don't know if he did. He looked to go for the wrap, and then he tried to wrap it the other way, but I think that screw on makes that hold so much better.
And we were actually talking about this while we were driving in today. What is it that you can do to improve your concentration on a route? So that might not have been a matter of concentration, it's just actually seeing the bolt on. But what can you do to be more focused and more efficient when you're climbing?
I think it really depends. Everyone's different. I know a lot of climbers try to get out of their head as much as they can and try to almost get like a Zen state and just let their body and their subconscious do it all. But then there's other climbers that like to really maintain a lot of focus and really think about everything they do. Personally, I like to kind of keep it in the middle, let my body do a lot of the work, but whenever I rest, I try to look at that next section and think about how I'm gonna complete it.
Yeah, when we were driving in today, Sean and I, we had a really interesting discussion actually about mental preparation and climbers could do to try and improve that element of things. We'll just confirm the results for you before we carry on. So Jakob Schubert, what a popular winner he'd be. He's guaranteed 4th already. He's currently leading the way ahead of Gutierrez Upper. Sebastian Halenka in 3rd, Stefano Gisolfi 4th, Anwar Kim in 5th. Roman de Grange, you just saw him come out. Doman Skofic and Ramone still to come. And just, yeah, Sean, going back to our discussion in the car, I don't want to repeat the whole discussion, but you were talking about some of the things that climbers could do. One of the things you mentioned was plyometrics. I was really interested by that. Just for our viewers, just tell them what you told me earlier.
Yeah, I mean, just in the process of trying to figure out how to be the best climber I can be, and you know, I think being able to move really explosively helps, and a lot of other sports are using plyometrics, and I think maybe some more of that in climbing is really beneficial. Even as a sport climber, doing a little bit of campusing just to have that explosive power in the crux is, I mean, it helps a lot.
And what, as I say, I've done some plyometrics, but for people that are new to it, in terms of climbing, what is plyometrics and what specifically would it involve for climbing?
For climbing, it's a lot of campus a lot of the time. If you're really advanced, you can use a campus board. If you're not as advanced, even just, you know, going up to an easier boulder and just campusing it as quick as you can, I think helps kind of build that explosive power.
So plyometrics is speed and power, basically.
Exactly.
So here's Roman de Grange. We haven't really talked about him yet. Too busy talking about plyometrics. Flies up the lower section. Of course, he won here last year.
It's interesting. Everyone has a slightly different method through this little section.
And again, this is a slightly different place to rest from Roman. There's no great rest on this men's route, but it's been interesting how the climbers are finding different places to rest.
I think this thing's so consistent that each rest is going to be suited to different climbers. So someone might like one rest and someone else might like another one.
That's certainly what we've seen so far. Roman, he was in great form yesterday in the semi-finals, qualified 3rd. If you saw our highlights package, or if you watched it live, you'll have seen as he was falling off, he was going absolutely mad at himself for making a mistake. Really frustrated. He did more than enough to make it to the final, but he's a competitive guy, and he was fuming when he fell off.
Yeah, it's hard. You never know, and you know, regardless of placement, I think everyone just wants to perform as well as they can. So when you don't, it can be super frustrating.
So he was 2nd last time out. Roman, say, won last year in Imst. Likes this wall.
That crimp on that volume is so bad. It's got no in cut to it. It's just a small little flat edge.
So Roman, no problem through the blobs, no problem through the parallel volumes. Really heading for the steepness now. See their hometown servos? That's a village just down the road from Chamonix. Trains in the Chamonix wall. Lived there for a long time. He's a guy who's done it all: bouldering, sport climbing, indoors, outdoors, trad climbing, you name it.
Such a cool view. You can see how big that wall is.
It is a huge wall here, but Roman, it's interesting actually having the clock there, because sometimes you feel as if the climbers are going really fast. Sometimes they don't look as if they're going quite so fast at all, but Roman, he's just kept up a steady pace, and he's got here with plenty of time to spare. Time unlikely to be an issue, you'd have thought. 3:40 still left on the clock.
Looks like he's losing a little energy for that clip. A couple of the other athletes found a little rest here, but I don't know if he's gonna do something like that. Wow. Just skipping that volume.
It's strong.
So strong. Wow.
Well, you can see how much strength Romain de Grange has got. Those are terrible holds. He skipped out the volume that Stefano Gisolfi fell on.
Yeah, I think he got on full-on fight mode there. I think he was just trying to do anything he could to get up to wall at that point.
There he is. Looks exhausted. Let's have another look at that. He skipped out the volume that Stefano Gisolfi fell from. We made a slap for that next volume, but he was never that close to latching it.
Sometimes that plus is all that matters, though, so you always want to try to do a move, even if you know you're so gassed there's no way.
So that'll have him into provisional 4th, I think. We'll check the results for you shortly. Again, Reece struggling to get the knot undone. Recruit some help.
A big applause. Romain de Grange. A big man here on the score.
And we'll just have a quick look at the results for you. See there, Jakob Schubert's still leading the way. Only 2 climbers to go, so he will be on the podium, Jakob. Because he is up on Romain de Grange. That's enough for provisional 3rd. Ahead of Sebastian Halenka, Stefano Gisolfi and Hanwoo Kim. Romain de Grange ahead of Sebastian Halenka on the count back to the previous round. They do have the same score here in the final. So you might be able to hear that. The venue MC is telling the crowd that Jakob Schubert still holds the provisional lead. As I say, only 2 climbers to go, so Jakob will be on the podium. You can see it there, bottom of your screen, just not sitting in the designated athlete area, but instead he's dragged the chair over and he's watching the action close up. And there he is, just having a drink. You can see it, bottom of your screen in the green sleeves. I guess when you're in the provisional lead, you can do whatever you want. Romain de Grange, we saw him there just sitting down next to his coach. Doesn't look too disappointed with that. So, Domen Skufic will be out next. 21-year-old Slovenian. Leads the overall standings right now. He's won 2 World Cups out of 3 before tonight. How he would love to make it 3 out of 4.
I think he's got a good shot at it. He's looking just so strong at every single one of these events.
Again, Domen Skufic, a really good guy to watch. I can't really imagine him being stressed. I know he takes his climbing very seriously, works hard at it, but he's just got the demeanour of a guy that just enjoys life. Enjoys the whole process of competing. Just making the most of his final inspection period.
Yeah, it's always good to try to remember all the beta. Sometimes, you know, you go back and you maybe will work on a few things that you saw on the route just to keep getting warm. It's always nice to make sure you got all that beta right.
Sean, we've got a question for you on Twitter from Dominic Imperato. He says, Sean, what advice do you have for climbers who want to take it far that started later than age 18? So if you start climbing slightly later in life, what can you do to catch up?
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't my situation, but I do know for people that do start later, just climbing as much as you can is the best thing you can do. You can always start to incorporate a little training. I think volume training can be useful, stuff like 4x4s. But initially, the first few years, just climbing is the best thing you can do.
When you say volume training and 4x4s, what's that to the layman?
So 4x4 is where you'll take a boulder or you'll take a rope route and you'll climb it 4 times back to back without any rest, and then you'll repeat that 4 times on 4 different routes or boulders.
Das Publikum hat viel dazu beigetragen, dass sich hier nochmals gesteigert
When you're just starting out, the biggest thing is doing as many moves as you can. So many different possible moves that it's really important to just learn them.
And now seems as good a time as any. Well, we've got you here and a young, successful Slovenian climber on the wall to ask about the Olympics and how you felt when you found out about the decision that sport climbing will be going to Tokyo in 2020. You're only 20 years old. How did you feel when you found out?
Stoked. I mean, it's cool, right? It's cool to see the sport progressing. I mean, I'm a young dude. I'm 20, but even since I started climbing, I've seen it grow so much back home, and the fact that it's going to be on that stage in 4 years it's cool. It's super cool. Yeah, I'm just excited.
And is it now something already, even though the decision's only just been announced, is it something that is really driving you? Are you really thinking about it a lot, or is it just in the back of your mind?
I mean, it's hard to say it's driving me. I think I'm driven regardless. I'm a lifetime climber. I love this sport. But yeah, it's something to go for. It's something to try for. It's definitely going to be in the back of my mind for a few years now. And I think just because of the format, having all events, maybe going to train a little bit differently and try to stay as well-rounded as I can.
You also do speed climbing and bouldering. What will you do to your training schedule in the next few years? With the Olympics in the back of your mind, how do you think your training is going to change?
The past several years, I've been kind of focusing on one discipline at a time for like 6-month blocks or 3-month blocks, whatever it may be. But I think I'm going to start trying to kind of incorporate all of it at once and just try to be as well-rounded as I can year-round.
And earlier on we mentioned about plyometrics. Is there anything else you'll be adding to your training that you don't currently do?
I mean, for bouldering, strength is so important, so I'll probably be incorporating more weight training than I ever used to do. Never really done it that much. And just more speed climbing. You know, I've been doing it for years, but I've never really focused on it. And, you know, it's good training in its own right, just because you have to be so explosive to speed climb. So I think it'd be cool to start working on that a little bit more too.
We have more questions for IFSC athlete Sean Bailey, but we will wait for them as we watch Domen Skufic. Great shot of our wall here in Imst. Don't forget, if you've got any questions for Sean, or if you want to let us know what you think about this evening's final, get yourself on Twitter, #IFSCWC. Domen Skufic, slightly slower so far than Roman.
He's such a fit dude. Sometimes he'll stay on the wall quite a while.
Yeah, him and his girlfriend Janja Garnbrecht currently leading the way in the men's and women's standings this year. Between them, they've won 5 out of the 6 World Cup medals awarded so far across the men's and women's discipline.
It's crazy. Both of them, I think, like the fittest climbers on the circuit right now.
Jetzt die tolle Abendstimmung hier, wenn die Beleuchtung hier voll zur Geltung kommt, im Kletterzentrum Imst.
You can see the holds he's resting on right now, they're just nothing.
Sportzentrum Kletterzentrum Imst, das Alpine-Kletterteam, perfekte Arbeit geleistet. Fantastic organized and managed from the climbing team.
See Domen now make his way into the triangular volumes. I don't think time will be an issue. 2:30. Some of the climbers have arrived here with a little more in hand, but nobody's been too close to being timed out. Not the most comfortable clipping position there. That's, you can see to the left the hole with the 3 tick marks. That's where there's a knee bar. It does make a good place to clip from.
I don't think anyone has spotted that yet. it's hard whenever you see something that you think could be a knee bar. Sometimes it takes so much effort to get in the position that you don't want to try, just because if it's not there, you're gonna lose so much energy. It's a high risk, high reward situation.
Doman just having a little shake out as he goes to that first torpedo. So as I say, as we've seen a few climbers not spot the heel hook here, and it's come back to bite them, will Doman spot it? Needs to get a heel hook on that left torpedo that he's got his left hand on. He's using his
rest.
Yeah, he's using his hand on the bolt on.
He's a really smart climber. I think he probably sees that there's no chalk on that hold, and there's a good chance he'll throw his heel up there.
Yeah, he is taking a long rest here. In danger of using a bit too much time. He'll have to get climbing pretty quickly. Here he goes. Just over a minute left. No one's been timed out yet, but then by the same token, no one's
got to get that right foot up.
Very top of the route.
Wow.
You can see the top of the route there. It's just up and right of the spotlight. Just see it in the subsidiary light.
See, he's tired. He's just skipping that clip, trying to get as many moves in as he can. You're only called off once there's no way you can clip anymore, so sometimes when you get really tired, it's better to get one more move than to get that clip.
And Doman, I think he's certainly tired. Let's have another look at this. I'm not sure, yeah, just touched the edge of that triangular white hold. Pretty decent fall he took there. And again, straight into his media duties. They're not getting much of a rest. We can see there Doman is just trying to get his breath back.
Been in this situation a few times, and it can be a little frustrating when you're just trying to think about what happened on the route and how you did, and you get someone asking you questions right away.
And we see there Doman Skofic, he takes a provisional lead ahead of Jakob Schubert. They're on the same score, but as a result of count back to the previous round, Doman takes the lead. Just goes to show you it's not just your performance in the final, it's the rounds before that. Gutierrez Upper is third. Roman de Grange has knocked off the provisional podium, and Sebastian Halenka, Stefano Gitsofri and Hanwoo Kim make up the rest of the top 7. The leader from yesterday's semi-final, Ramone, is up next. Jakob Schubert's obviously made his way elsewhere because that was his own seat that he commandeered on the edge of the stage. Doman looks worn out. As you said, he's very fit, even by the standards of World Cup climbers, but that took a lot out of him.
Yeah, it always does. You fight so hard on these routes, you're more drained than after like a whole session training sometimes. It's crazy.
Here he is, Ramon Julien. Not climbing at the level we've come to expect from him so far this year, but absolutely turned it on in yesterday's semi-final. Looked like the Ramone of old. This is his first final of 2016. Very focused on the World Championships in Paris in just under a month's time.
I'll tell you what though, him climbing that semi-final looked like an entire different route than all the other guys. It was really impressive.
It was incredible to watch. Go back and have a look on YouTube from our live stream yesterday. Ramone absolutely cruised the men's route. Nobody else topped it. He topped it, and to be honest, there's a few dynamic moves in there, a few big leaps, but never really looked like he was going to fall off, to be honest.
Yeah, I think he could have kept going for a little while longer.
There's not many people that the wall here in Imst isn't long enough for, but yesterday it looked like it wasn't quite long enough for Ramone.
Yeah, if there's anyone, it's probably him. Looks like he's struggling to clip this bolt here, but he got it under control.
21 World Cup wins. Can he make that 22 tonight? As I've said, he's openly very focused on the World Championships in Paris in a few weeks, excuse me, not a few years. It's going to come around very quickly, and it looks as if he's peaking at just the right time. In fact, we were chatting to one of the Spanish coaches earlier in this. He's getting a bit of a hard time, people were saying. Ramade's peaked too early. It's 3 weeks early. So as Ramane makes his way up the lower section of the route, got another question from Dominic. Sean, how do you build your ability to on-site?
On-site. It's easy, yeah. And it's the more on-siting you do, the better you're going to get at it. One of the most important things is just making sure that you try to read your route on the ground and try to see what you're going to do. And I always try to have a couple options for different sections if I'm not quite sure how it might go. And then just go for it. It's important to just on-site a lot of routes.
Also got a question from Magdalena. Sorry, not from Magdalena. Before we ask Magdalena's question, we will speak to Domen Skofic in just a second. I believe we've got Domen. Domen, are you there?
Yeah, hello, I'm here.
How was that? That looks so tiring.
Oh yeah, on observation I didn't even check the last slab, so I was like figuring out all of the sequence up there, so it was super tiring. Like I was like, all the moves I was seeing myself on the ground, but somehow I stuck the next hold, and then all of a sudden the next one was a bit better, and I could still continue. But on the end, yeah, I just like ran out of steam. It was like impossible.
And shortly you're going to be watching Yanya climb. Do you enjoy that, or is it horrible to watch? Are you nervous for her?
Yeah, I mean, of course it's enjoyable to watch, and I'll be, of course, nervous for her, but I just hope that she enjoys. If she enjoys, then I know she'll do fine. So yeah.
Well, you've both had a great season so far, and you're in the provisional lead here in Imst. Thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you.
There's Domen Skofic there. Still look tired from his exertions. We'll just have a look where Ramane's up to. So he's not climbed as quickly as some of the climbers so far.
Doing that super powerfully.
And so, yeah, I was about to ask you a question from Magdalena Tomikovic again. Sean, what's your method for regeneration and regaining strength after a workout?
Just try to relax. Just try to relax. Yeah, I mean, have a good meal. Got to get that protein in, and then sit. Let your body have as much time as it can until your next session.
And you're almost a vegetarian, is that fair to say? Mainly a vegetarian?
Yeah, sure.
Most of the time?
Most of the time.
How does that affect your ability to recover? You just mentioned about protein. What sort of things can vegetarians eat, and what can they do to make up the gap in protein?
I mean, protein shakes are huge. That always helps. Eggs are a good source. Tofu. I mean, it's easy to find. You just got to make sure that you're getting the right nutrients for your body.
So let's keep an eye on Ramane. He is the last male climber in this evening's final.
Such a strong climber. He spends so much time just locked off, but it doesn't ever seem to tax him that much.
Yeah, it is extraordinary. I mean, climbers come in all shapes and sizes, but Romain Julien, he really is small, I guess, in European, or certainly in English terms, 5'2", 5'3". So he does have to do the moves quite differently to some of the other climbers. The 21 World Cup wins. He has said in the past that his height, he feels his height does hold him back, but it doesn't hold him back that much.
Yeah,
I wonder what he would have achieved if he was taller, if he feels his height's held him back with all the titles he's won.
Yeah. Yeah, I think sometimes it suits you and sometimes it doesn't suit you. I'm a shorter climber too, and sometimes being able to get a high foot is a lot easier, or sometimes it's a low foot and you're kind of boned a little bit, but he seems to make it work.
He does. He used up a fair bit of time here. Just over a minute and a half left for Ramone. As I say, no one's been timed out. Domen Skufic got to about 25 seconds from running out of time. Ramon, you can see his leg just beginning to shake, really working hard here on the upper section of this route in Imst.
Yeah, like I said before, I think a lot of tension in that section. I think he was a little extended with that toe hook. Might have been a better method to somehow get that foot up a little bit.
Yeah, he doesn't look too impressed with that. Ramone, I think that'll put him 6th. We shall see. And as is so often the case here, the local DJ's obviously got a sense of humour. A Spanish hit playing behind Ramone. Couldn't tell exactly what it was. Ramone, not an English speaker. I think he's just explained that to the venue MC. He doesn't look too disappointed. As I say, very focused on the World Championships in Paris. And you see there the height difference between Domen Skufic and Ramone. But as we've said, 21 World Cup wins. Hasn't been too much of an issue, his height. Domen just high-fiving Luca Fonda, the photographer for the Slovenian team. Well, we just recap the result here. So Domen Skufic, there he is. He wins here in Imst. Jakob Schubert will take 2nd. They tied in the final, but count back to the previous round gives Domen the win. Gautier Supper will take the 3rd place on the podium. Roman de Grange just misses out 49 plus to Gautier's 50. He takes 4th. Sebastian Helliger 5th. Stefano Gisolfi is in 6th. And Ramon Julian, he takes 7th. Hanwoo Kim takes 8th. And you can see there, we've seen that shot a few times, the quick draws hanging. Previously there were mountains visible behind. Sun and any sort of light now disappeared from Imst. We are completely in darkness, the climbers visible only on the spotlight. And I've been reliably informed by Joe, our social media man, who's, maybe slightly younger than me, that song, the Spanish song was, hold on, help me out here, Duele el Corazón by Enrique Iglesias.
You know, that sounds good to me, man.
Non habla español, I'm sorry. Tiaza Kalam, Kran, will be off to her hometown in the end of November.
Looks like a quite powerful start.
Well, without wanting to dwell on my Spanish pronunciation, we do have a question about the DJ actually from Hans. He wants to know, does the music that the DJ is playing influence your climbing in any way?
Yeah, I mean it does. It depends. Coming from the States, I think I have slightly different taste in music than most folks over here. But if I'm stoked on the song, it definitely helps. Otherwise, I normally just block everything else out besides the rock climb.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. In years past, there's been some some controversies about DJs always playing certain songs when certain climbers are out. And Anak van Hoeven said on her blog recently about the previous World Cups this year that while I was climbing, the DJ usually played the song Hallelujah. Although it's not really a Christian song, I'm glad that people are willing to recognize that I believe in Jesus. The song Oh Happy Day was played several times too. Great. So Anak van Hoeven, one of the climbers at the venue DJs, seem to have put their heads together and decided that Hallelujah were played whenever she's climbing. She's of course a very committed Christian.
It's a bit slow for me, but if it works for her, it works for her.
But she doesn't seem to mind, as I say. Also, the song Oh Happy Day, also happy with that, doesn't mind. Don't forget, if you've got a question for Sean, you can get on Twitter. #IFSCWC. Sean Bailey, IFSC athlete, is alongside me. Charles Callan is on the wall in the women's reach. She's the first climber out. Qualified 8th from yesterday's semi-final. So far not too many issues with this women's route. The route setters are expecting that we're going to get a top on this route. Just to give you some idea, they don't think it's super hard, but a bit like the men's, pretty sustained. Quite a few really difficult sections. Charles has only been in one World Cup so far this year. That was Brianson. She finished 17th. Climbing very smoothly thus far.
Yeah, she's looking really confident.
She actually won a European Youth Cup in Austria. Not here in Imst, in Mitterdorf last year. Only 20 years old. Now this section here that she's just midway through these 3 volumes, the route setters are saying if you don't quite read this section right, we could see 1 or 2 climbers falling off here.
Doesn't look like the hardest read necessarily, but it does look like really hard to reverse. Maybe if you go with the wrong hand, you're stuck.
Yeah, most of the holds on this section can really only be held in one place and in one way. As you say, makes reading the route more important than ever. Charles are getting it right so far. One of the taller climbers out there. We've seen her do some quite long reaches already. It'd be interesting when shorter climbers like Jane Kim come out later on. It'd be interesting to see how they do those moves differently. You'd imagine Jane won't be able to reach in the same way that Charles has so far.
Wow, she's used a lot of time already.
Yeah, already 5.5 minutes used up, less than 3.5 to go.
It's tough on these slabbier climbs. A lot of the time you can find some good rest positions at the bottom, but if you don't move through them, you can time out. It's frustrating because you feel like you have more to go, but time limit's the time limit.
Yeah, 3 minutes to go for Chelsea. Now she's into this. Be good when we get a wide shot. You'll be able to see exactly how far up she is on the route. She's just over halfway, I would say. So time really an issue here. Here we go. Now we get a full look. And there you can see it. So yeah, just past halfway. Almost certainly, if she was going to top out, she would run out of time. So she's going to have to start motoring here. It's going to be worth taking a few extra risks. Because otherwise, she's going to be timed out relatively low down. 2 minutes to go. Around halfway up the wall.
Looks like she hasn't seen that screw on.
Yeah, this screw on. You mean on the
Okay.
holder buffer?
Yeah, there we
Yeah,
go.
there we go. You can see her really beginning to fight now. She's recovering a bit now, Chelsea. You can see there's a few really physical moves through that middle section. She's recovered some energy, but less than 90 seconds left. So you'd have thought she's going to have to risk it a bit more now, because it's almost a waste to be timed out when you've got plenty of energy left. You might as well just use that last minute to try and get as many holds in as you can, and it seems like she's doing that now. She is up in the pace. Her fellow Slovenian, Dejan Skofic, has already won the men's event here. 3 out of 4 World Cup wins so far, 2016.
This is where it starts to get really powerful.
She didn't look happy with that. There she goes, smile. Something resembling a smile on the face of Chelsea Callan. Looks frustrated with that.
Looks like she just undershot that hold.
This is what we were saying as she started her attempt. Let's have another look at that. She had a pretty good attempt at this. Oh, just short. She tries to go again. That is a replay, by the way. She didn't go 3 or 4 times. She just tried to readjust. And as I was about to say, when she set off climbing, we were saying this women's route, there's no particularly desperately hard bit, but there are quite a few separate, pretty hard bits, and it's sustained. And we saw that just from the fact that it took her 7.5 minutes to get up onto the upper section of the route. Here comes Julia Shanodi. Also 20 years old. Just making the most of her observation period. As I say, they get 40 seconds before they set off climbing. So first final of this year, she was 11th, 12th, 13th. Chamonix Villars-Briançon. So she's already bucked that unwanted trend of going one down the order every event so far. Let's see if she can move through this women's route slightly quicker than Chiasa was able to. Sure, when you've been observing a route, you know, the climbers have their observation period before they get a chance to try out the route. Do you ever have enough time or go into enough detail to think about a high risk or a low risk way of doing certain parts of the route?
Oh, definitely. I think that's super important. Most of the time, that first run through, I'll just go super quick, and I'll try to get kind of the general overview of the thing out, and then I'll start looking more closely at those sections that looked a little trickier from the ground, or I wasn't like pretty positive of what the beta would be, and that's where I'll start thinking of a couple different ways to get them done.
So we've got a question from Tyson Schoen. Tyson Schoen. Sorry, Tyson. Tyson, and I suspect he might be a friend of Sean's, says, now that you've felt what it's like to compete on the World Cup circuit, what's it going to take to keep it going?
Well, this guy's going to kill me if I don't give him a shout out. So this is my lifelong coach. I've been working with him for a long time. Got to give a shout out to a vertical world climbing team in Seattle, just representing. What did you have to say, guy? Let's see.
Now you felt what it's like to compete on the World Cup circuit. What's it going to take to keep it going?
Dude, it's easy now. I think it's just exciting. It's cool to see what it's actually like. I hadn't have ever done these competitions, and I didn't know exactly what it would be like. And now that I've seen what it's like, seen what the culture is like, it's just so exciting. I think the motivation is so easy to find when you see like this many killer athletes that are just so fit. So yeah, I mean, just get back in the gym, train some more, and then do it all over again.
You heard it here, Tyson. What Sean wants is you just to train him harder and harder. Be careful what you wish for. You could be in for a pretty tough few months when you get back to the gym.
Man, I hope so. I hope so.
So we watch Julia Chanardi. She's used up much less time getting up here. Got much more time in hand than Chelsea did. Still more than her for time allowance.
Going a little quicker, but not much.
No. Chelsea.
Struggling to get this clip sorted out, though.
Give you some idea of where Chelsea was. She was, I believe it's kind of hard to tell where the quick draws are. Between 3 and 4 quick draws from here. The third quick draw onto the roof. She was on the rounded hole just to the right of that. That was the hole she was going for when she fell. So that's where Chiazza got to. Julia, as I say, much faster so far.
She's looking a little pumped for sure, but still moving.
This incredibly strong French team. Only one of them made it into the final here in Imst, but we had 7 French women in the semi-finals yesterday. Now this is exactly the same place that Chiazza Callan fell off, that big lunge. I've been up on the cherry picker and had a look. It's actually not a bad hold there, but when you climb so far, much further than you climb. Let's just have another look at it. Much further than you need to climb to top out on some of our lead World Cup walls. Fatigue really becomes an issue, and it is a big reach. So let's see how the judges viewed that one. That might have put it in the lead because it was the same hold.
Yeah, I believe so.
Sean, for people that are new to lead climbing, spot climbing, just explain the scoring system, particularly as you understand it as an athlete.
I mean, in my own head, I keep it pretty simple. It's just try to get as high as you can. Movement counts as a plus, and controlling a hold counts as a point. So just try to get as far as you can up the route.
So you see they're both on 45 plus. Yes, she did get the same score as Chiazza, but she goes into lead as a result of count back. I heard the venue MC say takes the lead, but it is the result of count back. They were awarded exactly the same score. Out next we'll have Anne-Sophie Collet of Switzerland. There she is. just appeared, casting a long shadow across this Imst stage. Julia Shanodi slightly shunned the venue MC. She's going to sit on her chair and he's going to have to come to her if he wants to ask her any questions. We can see there in the foreground Eddie Falk, the official IFSC photographer, doing his thing out of the cherry picker. Sean, the questions are coming in thick and fast. Don't forget, if you've got a question for IFSC athlete Sean Bailey, he's alongside me, reigning US national champion, I might add. Get yourself on Twitter, hashtag IFSCWC if you've got any questions for him. I've got a follow-up question from Simula Crumb 6. Our social media guy Joe, he sends me these questions. I'm sure he picks people with really difficult names. Simulacrum 6, I hope that's pronounced right. Joe, just send me a question from someone called John Smith. That would be great. Just give me a break for the pronunciation. Simulacrum 6, they want to know, Sean, you mentioned that lead climbing routes are getting more like boulder problems. Do you have a theory on why that is?
I mean, yeah, I think it's just more interesting. If I had to guess, that would be the biggest reason. It moves a lot quicker. You get people falling a lot sooner, and when the movement is harder. I mean, the harder the movement, the more interesting it can be. So that's got to be the main reason. Personally, I find it more exciting to climb bouldery routes.
Wow, I've just been absolutely trumped. Joe, the social media man, who's getting lots of shout-outs this evening, he's just trumped me. He's just said, John Smith says, Charlie, can you take pronunciation tutoring?
Yes.
Great comeback, Joe. Joe's American, actually. Who said they haven't got irony?
Yeah.
As we see Anne-Sophie from Biel, the far side of Switzerland. Second final this year, 7th in Chamonix, 14th in Villars, 16th in Briançon. She was 34th last year here in Imst. So, significant improvement this year. You can see, yeah, she's just slightly shorter. We were talking earlier. Sean, explain. I just heard, oh man. Just explain.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like she's struggling a little bit. It's one of those places where sometimes maybe being shorter is not an advantage, but looks like she got through it just fine.
She's figured out this section through the volumes. And Sophie seems to have found her rhythm slightly more, which allows us to ask another question to Sean Bailey, IFSC athlete, is alongside me. Don't forget, get on Twitter, hashtag IFSCWC. If you've got any questions for Sean, if you want to let us know what you think about this evening. Sean's just leaning over to read the question. I'm going to turn the.
All right.
I'm going to turn the screen away. You've got to on-site these questions. Angela Eckhart, she wants to know, what are your thoughts on only 20 men and women being allowed to compete in the Olympics for climbing?
Well, I mean, I think that's just because it's an expedition sport, so that's just how they work. Yeah, I mean, it'd be sweet if more could compete, but don't think that's going to happen.
Are you hoping to be one of them?
I mean, I'm not hoping to be one of them.
Good answer. It's good politician's answer.
Yeah.
As we see, it makes you realise just how long this wall is here in Imst. And Sophie been climbing for 5 minutes, still not reached the roof section. None of our women so far, admittedly, and Sophie only the third one out, but none of them yet have really ventured onto the upper section. Chasa Callan and Yulia Shanodi tied on 45 plus. And Anne-Sophie, she looked more tired lower down. Seems to have recovered slightly, but already the fatigue showing on her face. Just a slip there. It looked like she was just
happy.
No, just setting to go.
It's hard on powerful movements. Sometimes it's hard to put the pressure in your feet, and when there's less pressure in your feet, they just skate a lot of the time.
Also man weiß ja nicht, was die Vorgängerinnen, die Mitstreiterinnen hier auf diese Kletterwand gelegt haben.
7 another look. It looked like she had the Sean. Just have a look at this. She's just resetting on the hold.
Yeah.
Really strange fall actually.
Yeah, I think she was a little too low. I think had she been a little higher, she would have had a little bit better of a position. But it's a strange position to be in when you're reaching so high to kind of like an undercling like that.
We've got a really good question here on Twitter. Don't forget IFSCWC on your hashtags. If you've got a question for Sean Bailey, Melissa Wright, she wants to know, Sean, as a new lead climber, I'm still afraid of falling. Do World Cup competitors still feel afraid? And if so, how do you work through fear?
Yeah, I mean, I think still afraid of falling, but just for a slightly different reason. You know, you don't want to fall on these routes. You want to top them if you can. Yeah, just practicing falling is super important. If you got that fear, I think, you know, I had that fear for a lot of years, but I worked through it by practicing falls, just trying as hard as I could to get out of my comfort zone.
And we have a quick look at the result. Yeah, Anne-Sophie Collett there, she did slip quite low down. She was just readjusting on the holds, puts her into provisional third ahead behind Yulia Shanodi and Chiasa Callan. Yulia Shanodi leading the way on count back to the previous round, where she finished 1 place higher than Chiasa Callan, and that is now playing to her advantage because she is provisional first instead of second. Here's a familiar face, Jane Kim. Always great to watch her climb. Doesn't matter what the style, what the length of the route, just keeps up that nice steady pace. I mentioned earlier we're going to be filming a feature with Jakob Schubert in the next week. We're also going to be filming in the not too distant future with Jane Kim. So stay tuned on the IFSC Facebook page for that. So Jane, we saw, it was most noticeable when Chiasa Callan was out. She's one of the slightly taller climbers on the circuit. Some quite longer reaches. Jane Kim, one of the shorter climbers, certainly in this evening's final. Be interesting to see how she deals with those moves.
I have a feeling she's not going to struggle too hard.
Bilanz nach 3 Athletinnen im Immediate Ranking aufgeführt ist. An der 3. Stelle aus der Schweiz, Anna-Sophie Collett.
As ever, slow, steady and controlled.
And from cross, intermediates, the leading lady, sitting on.
And I believe that very shortly we're going to be able to speak to Anne-Sophie Collett of Switzerland, who recently climbed on the women's route, and there she is. Anne-Sophie, do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Hi.
Tell us about the route. It looks very sustained.
Yeah, I mean the beginning is a bit slap, so you have to be careful. but the holds are better than I thought. And then it gets a bit steeper, and you can always a bit rest a bit, but never really good. So I always get a bit more pumped when I got higher. And then there are a lot of crossing, and for me it's like really hard to do like 4 crossing in a row. So that was, yeah, it was really physical.
And when you fell, it looked as if you were just readjusting on the hold. What happened exactly?
I had the shoulder move, and then I just didn't have the strength to really lock high enough to reach the next hold. So maybe I should have put my right foot somewhere else to be able to push more. Yeah.
But overall, have you enjoyed the experience of climbing in here in Imst? It's a legendary venue and a great crowd. Have you enjoyed the experience?
Yes, of course. It's my second final, and it was just great as the first. And it's a really different wall, so it's less steep than in Chamonix. But I think it's also really nice to compete here. Yeah, and the crowd is always really fair.
Well, we really enjoyed watching you. Thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you.
That was Anne-Sophie Collet. Yeah, as we thought, just on that hold, and as she said, could have perhaps used her right foot differently. Jane Kim, we know what to expect from her. Now that's how she did the move. That was the move that I was thinking about, where Chasa really had to reach for it. Jane Kim, it's about the fastest we see her move. And she'll settle now into this lovely steady pace that she keeps up.
She's so confident.
The height of her body is 1 meter and 52 centimeters. But she has a lot of experience we have seen before to reach the next handles.
Jane, 4.5 minutes, so it's often quite deceptive. It can look as if she's climbing very slowly. She's not climbing that slowly. It's always the same pace. We talked yesterday in the semi-finals a lot with route setter Caleb Thomas, who was alongside me, about pace, how route setters design the routes so that climbers will need to go quickly at some stages, slightly slower at others. Jane just keeps up this nice steady pace all the way. 4 minutes down. She's over halfway up the route. So
Let's go! Put your hands up in the air! Jane Kim!
entering the two half moon volume section.
This is where the route starts to look pretty powerful.
Yeah, the angle of the wall pretty steep at this stage, and it only gets steeper.
She's looking super calm right now.
Yeah, it's had a very consistent season. Third and fourth. So Brianne Sun last time out was the first time she missed a podium this year. She won 5 World Cups in a row back in 2010. She now shares the record with Janja Garnbret of 3 World Cups in a row where you've topped every round. Janja's done it the first 3 World Cups of this year. Jane did it also back in 2010. So I suspect time could become an issue here, Jane Kim. 2 minutes left on the clock. She's still got a lot of climbing to go. As I say, it often looks as if she's climbing slow. She's not climbing slow, she just keeps up that same pace all the way. Now this hold on the triangular white volume. There you see it, that yellow bolt on. That is the furthest anyone's got. If she can hold on to that and not just touch it, not just make a slap for it, she'll take the lead. She does. So this is the provisional lead for Jane Kim. Remember, 4 climbers still to come, but Jane Kim will lead the standings. So this is the furthest we've seen any of the women get on this women's route, and it is the steepest, the most physical section. Even the great Jane Kim looking slightly hurried in her movements, more than understandable. We're just not used to seeing it from her. And she's making it work through the roof. As I say, the route setters, they expected some tops on this. Is Jane Kim going to provide the first one? 30 seconds to go. She's going to have to really get a move on if she wants to top this. And this, by the standards of Jane Kim, is exertion. There she is, just a couple of moves off pulling over that final lip, and she takes a final wistful look up. It's enough for a healthy early lead. And she comes down next to the judges. Let's have another look at this. As I say, by the standards of Jane Kim, this was almost panic. Now, she's extraordinary to watch. You just can't believe it when she falls off, because nothing's looked hard up until there.
She's one of those climbers that's so good at hiding when she's tired. She still climbs with so much tension, and she doesn't let it show that she's getting pumped.
Again, straight into the media duties. No messing about here.
Sorry, 1 centimeter score.
Just sharing a joke with the venue MC, and he's just telling her that she shares an early lead. I'm not sure if she will have known that when she first came down. Not sure if she will have seen quite how far the other climbers will have got. And we'll just quickly recap the results. We'll see Jane Kim in a very healthy lead. Let's see exactly by how far. So there we go, 56 to 45 plus for Yulia Shanodi and Chaza Kalan and Sophie Culler, who we saw slip off slightly lower down on 39. She sits in fourth. Still got Magda Rock, Janja Gambret, Mina Markovic and Anna Verhoeven. So Jane Kim can't do any more. She'll take a seat. Next out will be Magda Rock. She will get a good reception from this Austrian crowd, and there's Jane Kim. That's Jakob Schubert's seat. You're going to have to move when he comes back. He sat there for most of the men's final. We see there Magda Rock about to emerge.
Ladies and gentlemen, from London, from Tirol, Magdalena Rock.
So here she is, just going through those early moves. This wall is so big here in Imst, she won't have time to rehearse every move by any means. We heard Anne-Sophie Collor when we interviewed her live earlier saying that she hadn't had time to even look at the upper slab. Sorry, Jakob Schubert, who said he hadn't even had time to look at the upper slab by the time he came out. We see there Magda Rock. She comes from Landeck, not too far from here, just up the road. That was a long 40 seconds, it seemed. I think the judges were just giving Magda the hurry along. Here she goes. She's been climbing really, really well this season, Magda Ruck. 4th, 5th and 3rd. 3rd in Branson last time out. She won here in Imst in 2014. Not won a World Cup since then. How she would love to repeat that feat this evening. Just to give you an idea, she's currently sits 4th in the overall standings, Magda Ruck. Jane Kim, Annick Verhoeven and particularly Janja Garnbret have really been running away with this season so far, but Magda just about holding on to them. She's on 171 ranking points overall to Jane Kim's 185, Annick Verhoeven on 200 and Janja Garnbret already beginning to streak away on 300. It's a great climber to watch, Magda. A fighter. And I believe in a few seconds we're going to be able to speak to Jane Kim.
Yes, hello.
Jane,
Yes.
that was fantastic to watch. How was the route?
The route was really tricky, so I couldn't observation well. So normally the World Cup is very difficult for me because very long vertical wall. But this time I didn't think about the time and other things, and I just tried to relax and solve the moves.
And when you fell, did you make a mistake or was it just tired?
I couldn't move anymore because the feet is strange and I couldn't know how can I do.
Well, it was a really enjoyable climb to watch. Thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you very much.
That was Jane Kim.
Gut vorbereitet in den letzten Tagen, speziell natürlich auch hier für die Weltcup-Station in Imst.
Magda Ruck so far. Again, not one of the taller climbers on the circuit, but those low down dynamic moves that we saw Jane Kim dyno through, not proving too problematic.
Pacing is looking pretty good right now. She's got plenty of time to get to that last head wall.
You can see that again, you see the scale of this wall. Onto the half moons. Magda, really nice dynamic style, and as I say, she's a fighter. She's going to need to be on this up section. We saw Jane Kim and Jakob Schubert both told us that they hadn't had time during the observation to figure out the upper section. There was just so many moves to work out. Sean, when you're competing on a route after your observation period, how much do you tend to remember the moves? Or do you just, is it half on site, half what you memorize?
Man, I wouldn't say half. I try to memorize most of it, and most of the time, I'd say I could memorize a good 90%. Sometimes I'll get the whole thing, but every once in a while there'll be a tricky section, and it's not so obvious how to do it. But yeah, I would say most of the time I can memorize like 90 to 95% of it.
And do you have an especially good memory? Is that something you've trained into yourself, or is that just natural?
I think it's always trained to some extent. Whenever you practice on-sighting, you can train yourself to memorize movements. But these routes are of such quality that you don't often get to practice climbing like such high-level routes with such varied movement. But you know, every competition is practice, in my opinion.
And Magda fighting through this reef section. Jane Kim fell from the 2 volumes directly below the lip. When we pan out again, we'll see it just below the purple and green sign that says Imst. So this will be enough for an early second from Magda Rock. Let's say one here in 2014, and very keen to repeat that, I'm sure.
Goes for a slightly different beta through that section. Looked like it worked really well for her though.
Well, the DJ definitely got a sense of humour, playing Rockin' All Over the World from Status Quo for Magda Rock. I might have gone for those about to rock, we salute you, but still, pretty good effort.
Looks like she has a really good shot of doing this move.
She does, so this is where Jane Kim fell from. Magda could be climbing her way into an early provisional lead here. 1 minute to go. She's signs of fatigue, but she doesn't look overly tired. Oh, pretty much the same move that Jane Kim fell on.
She tried to lead with her feet. I don't know if that was the best decision.
Yeah, it didn't look as if she was really feeling it too much, Magda, there. Let's have another look at that. Yeah, so she reaches with the left foot, changed her mind, tried to move the hand, and the left hand gave way. Magda will be one of not many competitors who will be able to speak the local dialect here. I can assure you, as someone that speaks a bit of German, that it is fairly difficult to understand. As we check the results, she takes the lead outright, not just on countback Magda Rock, 56 plus to Jane Kim's 56. Julia Shanodi and Chiaza Callan both on 45 plus. Julia Shanodi ahead on countback to the semi-final, and Anne-Sophie Collet is on 39, and she sits 5th. We've got 3 climbers still to go, and what a 3 it is. Janja Garnbret, she's won every World Cup so far. Mina Markovic, reigning World Cup champion, and Anneke Verhoeven, who has been in superb form this weekend. Let me see, Magda, as I say, takes an early lead, so Jane down into 2nd. Just comparing notes on the route.
It's one of those situations where it's just so important to try to do one more move.
Yeah, as we mentioned with the scoring system earlier, that plus can make all the difference.
I don't think she was necessarily any closer to sticking that next hold, but just because she made the effort, she's going to be in the lead.
So Janja Garnbret, by her standards, she's having an absolutely disastrous World Cup. She was 2nd in the qualifiers, 3rd in the semi-finals. What a nightmare. Up until now, she tops every round of every World Cup. And we've got a lot of questions here. Don't forget, if you want to ask reigning US national champ and IFSC athlete Sean Bailey any questions while we're live here in Imst in Austria, you can do so. Get on Twitter, hashtag IFSCWC. Rick Rondo, he asks, We've heard rumours of last summer's European van tour, for those of you that don't follow him on social media, and you should. Sean Bailey, bit of a road trip around Europe last year in, from what I understand, wasn't a very reliable van, but it obviously got you round. Rick Rondo, he wants to know, how do adventures benefit your climbing?
Yeah, I mean, opens your eyes, you get to see new crags, you get to climb on new types of rock, and I mean apart from climbing, it's just a great experience. So yeah, I think it helps tremendously. It just, for me, it just keeps me super motivated to get a little chance to just travel and enjoy life for a little bit.
And what's your favourite European country for climbing?
I gotta say France. I think Sayu's just such a special place to me right now.
And what about for the culture and the food?
Culture and the food. You know, I gotta say I've had some really good food in Austria.
I'm surprised, for a vegetarian, Austria's not
that's
ideal.
Why, hey, partially vegetarian.
Partially you got to make an exception when you're in Austria.
Yeah, I mean, you got to.
I thought you were going to say England there, actually, for food and culture.
Oh, yeah.
That's what you meant to say, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just...
It's a close second.
A very close second, yeah. Just a slip of the tongue.
Well, as we'd expect, Janja Garnbret not looking too flustered so far. Our clock has just disappeared. I'm sure we'll get it back in a second.
Yeah, I'm not sure I've ever seen her look flustered.
No, she doesn't really do flustered.
No.
Got a good question as well from Stephen Reed. He wants to know, in bouldering they clean the holds all the time. Do the last climbers in lead have a drawback since there's no cleaning?
I wouldn't say so. I think in bouldering it's a little bit different because a certain move will get tried so many times and a lot of chalk gets caked on. You know, when there's only 8 climbers, not too much chalk gets on the holds, and it can actually a lot of times be a benefit to climb later because you can see where other athletes have grabbed the holds. You can read things like where they put their thumbs, or if there's like a foothold that didn't previously have chalk on it that does after a few climbers have gone. You can see that like maybe it'd be advantageous to use.
Very shortly we're going to speak to Magda Ruck. She's backstage here at Imst. For now we keep an eye on Janja Garnbret, looking to make it a clean sweep, 4 from 4. And there's Magda. Magda, can you hear me?
Yes,
How was that, climbing in front of your home crowd?
it was amazing. It was really cool to climb here.
And what is the roof like? We saw you get right to the end of the roof. What's the climbing like there?
Yeah, it's a bit strange. The last move where I fell, it was really hard, or I didn't have had the right solution.
Well, you have a lead so far, so go and watch the other climbers and enjoy the evening. Thank you for talking to us.
Thanks. Bye.
The ever-smiling Magda Ruck. As we watch Janja, that's just a bit of an awkward clip. Yes, we were just talking then about holds getting cleaned. It's worth remembering in the semi-finals, halfway through the semi-finals, the routes do get cleaned from top to bottom by the route setting team.
She's still looking super fresh right now.
Yeah, be interesting to see how much time she's got left. She's kept up a pretty good pace. I'd be surprised if time was much of an issue right now.
Going for a much different approach here.
just beginning to see on her face the strain being on this reef for so long.
I think she sees the other method now. Yeah.
After
Still-
so much
still very
climbing, that's a powerful move, though.
Yeah, very powerful. Wow.
And Yanni Garnbret is off. She won't be winning here. And she looks very disappointed with that. She's not going to make it 4 from 4. As we've said already, this is the first World Cup she hasn't won every round. She's not going to win the overall. Just missed that hole. Just seemed to not quite get the very best bit of it. She does not look very happy.
I think she lost a lot of energy trying for that other method, and then when she finally did go out to that purple volume, she did it super powerfully. I think it sapped her of a lot of energy.
That is a very unhappy Janja Garnbret. We will try and talk to her, but I suspect she might not be that keen on talking to us. We'll see. We'll send our friendliest staff member up to try and coax her into chatting to us. Here comes her compatriot Mina Markovic, reigning World Cup champion. Not been her year so far, 2016, but we're better than Imst to turn things around. Not been a bad season by any means, already won finals. She was 6th in Chamonix and then she was 15th in Village, didn't take part in Briançon. But after such a good season last year, she might have been hoping for a slightly better start, but after Janja Garnbret fell off, will not be winning here. Mina might sniff a victory. Won here last year. Also won last year in Chamonix, Stavanger and Kran. Not a bad year for World Cup wins.
The big timer, Bouldering champion, like the year before. Mina Markovic, second last lady of today. Die vorletzte, die hier noch eingreifen kann. Und Magdalena.
So Mina should be aware that time's been a factor for a few of the climbers so far. No one's actually been timed out, but some of them have had to climb a bit faster than they would have liked in the upper section.
It can be hard climbing later because you know how long your competitors have been on the wall, and through that a lot of the times you can tell how far they've gotten. Sometimes it adds stress, but she's super experienced, so I don't know if it affects her that much.
No, she's been on the circuit a long time, Mina Markovic. Already up towards the second panel. More than 6 minutes left on the clock. I say, this is the scene of one of her 4 World Cup wins in 2015, Mina Markovic.
3 of the teams from Slovenia have been reached the big final of the top 8 for today's great fights.
And I believe that very shortly we're going to be able to speak to Janja Garnbret. As we concentrate on her compatriot Mina Markovic, she's not trouble so far. And now we can speak to Janja. Janja, can you hear me?
Hey.
Yeah, we just saw you on that roof section. What happened there? Did you make a mistake earlier on, or were you just tired? What happened?
I don't know. I don't really know. I was so afraid that I will run out of time again. So I don't know how to say it, but I didn't feel really comfortable, and I was really going through the route. I didn't just relax. And then, I don't know, I went in the move too quickly. So yeah, because of the time, that's all.
And so what do you do now before Arco? Do you just forget this? Will you be, when you wake up tomorrow, will you still be disappointed, or do you just forget it and move on?
I don't know, I will try to forget about it, and then there are still 2 trainings left, and then it's time for Arco.
Well, we look forward to seeing you then, and I'm sure you'll be back at the podium next time. Thank you for talking to us.
Thank you so much.
That was Yanni Gambra in, I have to say, slightly better spirits than I feared she might be. She looked pretty hacked off. And as my co-commentator Sean Bailey rightly said, didn't perhaps do the lower roof section quite as well as she could. Used up a lot of energy. She said herself didn't feel particularly relaxed.
Mina's going for different beta here.
Yeah, just
looks like she doesn't like it that much.
Clever use of that left foot, but it's hard to believe she can get much out of using her feet that way. Yeah, she already decides for a different method. Yeah, not happy with this move, Mina. As we were saying earlier, extraordinarily experienced. Made her World Cup debut right here in Imst in 2004. So she knows competition climbing well, and she knows this wall especially well. She also had her first win here, that was in 2008. So big fan of this Imst venue. But with only 3 minutes on the clock, she's going to have to motor through this roof section. So this is where Jenny Gambret used up quite a lot of energy. She stayed on at this stage, but burned through a lot of energy.
Mina still looks super composed.
So that was a move that stopped Chiasa Kalan earlier on. No problem for Mina. Just
struggling with that clip a little bit.
She's gone a bit too far past that clip to clip comfortably. She's not quite close enough to the next one to clip that comfortably, but she gets them both done in the end. She's got to avoid is making the same mistake as Jenny Gambret.
It's looking like she's gonna, though. They might have read the route together.
Let's go, Clever and for Mina.
Yeah, she's using up a lot of energy here. It's a good hold. It's a semi-rest, but at this angle, there's no such thing as a real rest. 1 minute 20 left on the clock.
Looks like she's just trying to sort it out a little bit.
It's a great close-up shot. Makes you realise just how tiny these holes are when you think about the angle of the wall. It's quite extraordinary. 1 minute left for Mina Markovic.
That was really incredible. That was super strong. Tell she's fighting now.
Yeah, 30 seconds to go. Again, slightly awkward clip. And Mina really fighting there. Doesn't look too unhappy with that. It's happened to a few of the climbers we've seen so far. They hit that roof section. It just seems to begin to sap their energy. Let's have another look at that. The shoulders working so hard, and as soon as her feet slipped and her arms had to take all the weight, she was struggling. So just to recap the results for you, Magdalena Rock, she holds an early lead. Mina Markovic in second on countback to the semi-final results, and Jane Kim in third. So Mina and Magdalena guaranteed a place on the podium. Only one climber to go, Yanya Gambre. That's the surprise so far this evening. She's fourth, Julia Chanaudy fifth, Chaza Kalan in sixth, and Anne-Sophie Collet currently in seventh. One climber to go, it's Anak Verhoeven. She has looked in incredible form all weekend. So Magda Rock, she'll be watching this. You'd have thought with her. There she is. The venue MC knows what's going on. He knows that she's watching this very nervously. How she'd love to win here again. She's done it once. Well, it's already been said this evening. This Austrian crowd, very fair. They won't support Magda ahead of Anak. I'm sure they'd love to see Magda win, but they will get right behind Anak Verhoeven, and she has climbed superbly this weekend. She climbed superbly, to be honest, all season. There she is. Very almost analytical style, you could say, Anak Verhoeven. She'll start her watch before she starts climbing. Has her shoe covers, she has her little routines. And once she's on the wall, she is incredibly controlled. And we see her there, the stopwatch has started. And just previous to Anak Verhoeven, we were watching Mina Markovic, and it ties in nicely with having Sean Bailey alongside me, because Mina Markovic, she told the Circuit magazine that she never imagined that she would be a professional climber, making a living from it. Apparently she was studying psychology back in the day, and it just made me think, Sean, you're cruising around Europe right now and stuff. Tell us the reality of life as a professional climber in terms of how you make your livelihood and how much money there is in the sport right now.
I mean, there's not a lot. It's a small industry still, but it's cool that some climbers are able to make a go of it. And yeah, I mean, I think it's living the dream for a lot of people. It's you're not getting rich, but you get to do what you love, and you know, what more could you want?
And do you think with the announcement that sport climbing is going to be in Tokyo in 2020, do you think that's going to change a lot? And for people like yourself that are trying to be professional athletes, do you think your situation is going to change in the coming years?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's even anything specific. I just see like climbing's growing so much. So many more people are getting involved. Like, you know, even in San Diego where I'm living right now, there's this pretty big community that didn't exist even, you know, 5 or 10 years ago. So it's growing. There's more money in it. More people are getting involved. So I'm sure we'll see things slowly start changing over the next few years, especially with the Olympics being a reality.
Don't forget, get yourself on Twitter, hashtag IFSCWC. If you've got any questions for reigning US Nationals champion and IFSC athlete Sean Bailey, or if you just want to let us know what you think about this evening's event. Just to let you know, Doman Skofic has claimed his third win from 4 World Cups so far in the men's competition. And Magda Rock, the local, currently leads the way here in the women's competition. Anna Verhoeven, who's on the wall now, is the last climber out. She's never won a World Cup. She's been on 6 podiums. Got a question here from Twitter for you, Sean. Hans wants to know, hey Sean, are comp climbers familiar with the holes? Do you train with as many different holds as possible?
Definitely, yeah, definitely. I know that a lot of the guys over here are pretty familiar with these holds, but you know, back home in the States, we have different hold companies that are the major players. So I don't necessarily know these holds quite as well. But yeah, it's such an advantage to know how good every hold is. I know at some of these World Cups they've had a lot of new holds that no one really knows that well, and that's cool too. I think it helps have like an even playing field.
So Anik would expect nothing less. I was about to say climbing very smoothly. Quite a lunge there for that hold, but makes it work. You suspect 4:30 left on the clock. Might need to set the pace a bit. The route has taken a lot of time and a lot of energy out of the climbers we've seen on it so far.
She's just testing different methods here.
She always looks very controlled. Anik Verhoeven, she's a really enjoyable climber to watch. Very much in the Jane Kim mould, that you can't ever believe it when she falls off because you didn't even realise she was finding it hard. So she's heading towards where the wall really begins to steepen. As ever, nice and in control, but I do think she's going to be slightly pushed for time here. Just over 3.5 minutes.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, this next section is so difficult that it's really hard to take a lot of time. So I do think if she reaches the head wall, she'll be okay. But if she takes any more long rest, she might start struggling for time.
I'm sure she's got a plan in her head of how all this is going to work. As we've said, very analytical. Really nice, smooth way of doing that move rightwards. Janja Garnbret looked slightly jerky on that move. Didn't look completely at home. She hasn't quite been herself, I don't want to say all weekend, but certainly in this final.
Doesn't look quite sure how she wants to do this section.
In under 3 minutes, we will know if Magdalena Rock has claimed a win in front of a home crowd here in Imst. She holds a provisional lead. Got a question for you from Twitter here, Sean. Sean Bailey's alongside me. Avery Cook, he wants to know, what aspects of international climbing do you want to bring back to the USA, apart from the decent red wine?
Just the route setting. I think it's done a little different over here. I think the style is a little different. In the US, it's slowly starting to change, but I really love this consistent climbing. I like the resistance climbing. I think it's more interesting, and I think for the US to start getting ahead, it's going to be important that at our competitions we have to climb on similar routes.
Let's go!
So Anna, as I say, now only just entering the reef section, 1 minute 20. I really think she's going to be tight for time here.
She's got to know she doesn't have a long time left.
I think she's really gonna be tight here. As I say, Anik, she's very calculating in how she goes about her climbing, but she's got a long way to go before she's up to where she's going to need to be to take the lead here. I think she's going to be timed out. She's going to have to really start climbing quickly. Anik Verhoeven, she's been second to Janja Garnbret twice this year. She's been on 6 World Cup podiums, never won one, and in real danger here, in one of the best opportunities she'll ever have I'm just climbing too slowly. 15 seconds to go. She's not going to be able to do this.
Oh man, this is stressful to watch.
It is 3, 2. That is time up for Anak Verhoeven.
Really looked like she still had a lot more left in the tank. That's a bummer.
It did. She doesn't look too disappointed, but she won't get many better opportunities to win a World Cup than that. And we didn't hear Hallelujah, which is often the song that you hear played when Anak Verhoeven is on the wall. And she's just double checking about the time. I wouldn't have thought there's much scope for debate. The time is the time. It's not really a judgment thing. You know, she seems happy enough with what the judges are saying. So just to recap, Magda Ruck, she will win in front of a home crowd, 56 plus to 56 ahead of Mina Markovic. Back on the World Cup podium in Jane Kim. Third place, that's where she's been in 2 World Cups so far, and it's where she stands in the overall rankings. Anak Verhoeven and Janja Garnbret, both of whom have featured very heavily so far this season. In 4th and 5th, Julia Shanodi, Chaza Kallan and Anne-Sophie Koller make up the rest of the top 8.
Applaus for Anak Verhoeven from Belgium.
And here we have the men's results. So Domen Skofic, he makes it 3 from 4 this season. Him and Janja Garnbret both won 3 from 4 World Cups this year. He beats Jakob Schubert into 2nd place. Austria so close to having 2 home winners. Gautier Zuppe takes 3rd. Romain Desgrange, his countryman, just misses a podium in 4th. Sebastian Hallenka 5th. Stefano Gisolfi in 6th. Ramin Julien is down in 7th. And Han Wul Kim takes 8th. And we see the podium being moved into place, ready for the ceremony here. And what a cheer Magdalena Rock will get when she steps onto the top of it. As I say, she's won here before an Imst. She loves this wall. And what a performance this evening. And it also just goes to show, keep fighting to the very end. It was a plus, 56 plus to Mina Markovic's 56. And we spoke to her earlier. I believe we can speak to her again now that the nervous wait to watch the climbers is over. Magdalena Rock. Magda, congratulations. You won in front of your home crowd.
Thanks.
It's going to be an amazing feeling on the podium. What was it like watching the last few climbers?
Yeah, it was really cool, but strange too, because I thought they could do it better than me.
But they couldn't. You climbed superbly this evening. Sorry. How's it going to feel on the podium? Are you nervous? Are you excited? What is your emotion now?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel amazing, everything together.
But it was great to watch you enjoy the podium. You deserve it.
Thanks.
An understandably delighted Magda Rock there. As I say, she's very close to home. Will have slept at home last night. She'll be going back again tonight. That's got to be an advantage in a World Cup.
So much. Whenever you're comfortable, I think you can perform way better.
I mean, when someone really generous gives you a bed, something like that, I mean, it must make such a difference.
Yeah, that makes a difference too.
I took pity on poor Sean Bailey on the road and provided him with a warm bed last night in our spare room.
No, I can't thank you enough.
I just hope the cat didn't annoy you too much.
No, not at all.
And I believe very shortly we're going to speak to Mina Markovic. There she is. Mina, you're back on a World Cup podium again. You always seem to climb well here in Imst.
Yeah, it's true. I really like Imst, and I also like the situation and the current feeling.
And you've suddenly hit really good form. How do you feel before Arco and Paris?
I'm definitely really excited, and I just really like what I did since last stages where you see me on, and I think we can expect good further.
And what have you been doing since the last World Cups? What's been the big change?
Yeah, there were some changes in mental, in approach, but let's say that I almost locked myself in a gym, that's it.
So just lots of training and it's paid off. Enjoy the podium.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for talking to us. That was Mina Markovic. Understandably delighted, so there you go. Hard work pays off. What you put in, you get out. She's obviously been training pretty hard since we last saw her in action in Vila. Of course, she missed the Briançon World Cup. She is a great competitor, Mina, and it's fantastic to have her back on the podium. You can see, you get some idea of the scale of this wall here in Imst when you see the people walking around on the stage. It's absolutely enormous. Like the Colosseum in Rome, or the Acropolis in Athens, this huge structure. Perhaps that's slightly generous, maybe not quite spectacular, but it's an amazing place to climb. And Magda Rock, who we spoke to, and Mina Markovic, who we also just spoke to, will be up on that podium very shortly. Here's our first dignitary, Andy Knabel. Here he is, one of our organising team. It's a shame we can't quite hear what the local MC is saying. Andy being awarded a replica of the wall.
To organize and create this fantastic World Cup station. Andy, Gratulation. Danke. Aber ich möchte mich nochmal an alle Helfer bedanken. Also es ist eigentlich herrlich, mit so einem Team zu arbeiten. Und da in Imst, also mit unseren Kletterern, mit dem Kletterteam noch einmal.
And he was just, from what I heard, he was just thanking all the people that help out to make this event what it is, and thanking the climbers for all their efforts.
A big thank you from Andy Knabel to all helping hands behind him. And now, Jan.
Come on, Andy, you could have at least put a shirt on.
Put it in the air. Also, the photographs.
That's the closest most people will ever get to know what it's like to winning a World Cup. Andy Knabel, he's been one of our organisers this weekend. Done a great job as ever.
So enjoy it. And also the incoming works.
That was the sound of an IFSC athlete just having a coughing fit. And it's only getting worse. Sean, I give Sean a minute to recover. So, somebody get this man a bottle of water.
Some incoming works. Also, einige Worte. Are you satisfied?
We're good now. We've got it sorted
We're good.
out.
And there on the stage is Marco Scalaris. He's just taken the microphone from the MC. Can't be long back from Rio de Janeiro, where he got the great news that sport climbing will be at Tokyo in 2020.
Thank you very much. Als Vertretung für den internationalen Verband.
We see there Gutierrez up it.
And now, ladies and gentlemen,
Jakob Schubert and Domin Skofic all enjoying a bit of a joke. And they just Jakob says, "Hey, I got second."
International Federation of Sport Climbing Elite World Cup 2016. First applause. The medals and the flowers will be presented by
So Marco Scolaris, as I say, present in the IFSC. If you watched our live stream in Briançon for the final, we had a good chat with Marco about the whole Olympic movement. He'll be presenting the trophies tonight. Must be quite a shock to the system getting back to a chilly Imst after being on the beach in Rio de Janeiro. But he looks pretty well wrapped up. Gutierrez upper. Tell us what we know.
Representing the nation of France.
So here in third place, Gutierrez upper, something amusing him in the crowd. I think he's pretty happy with that. There's Marco Scolaris, as I say. Check out our Briançon live stream replay to see our interview with him.
Auf die Glückwünsche von den Repräsentanten.
And he also gets his replica of the wall. And we are in Austria. He gets his beer glass. They could do the carrier bag to carry it all.
The silver medalist representing Austria, Österreich, Jakob Schubert.
There's Jakob Schubert, second place. He would have loved to have won in front of this Austrian crowd. But alas, he couldn't quite catch the man who few climbers have caught this season. Domen Skofic, third World Cup win from 4. Only Sean McCall has broken his run. Sean, of course, won in Villars. And Jakob now receiving his beer glass. Actually was over by where they keep the prizes. And the beer glasses get progressively bigger depending on where you finish on the podium. Just wait till you see the one that Domen Skofic is going to get.
League World Cup 2016. The gold medalist and the winner of the Imst.
Gutierrez upper still very amused by something. I'd love to know what he's laughing about.
Representing Slovenia, Domen Skofic.
There's Domen Skofic. 3 World Cup wins from 4. Just as his girlfriend Janja Garnbret has done. Quite the year they're having. That's what I call a beer glass. So big. The chap hanging out the prizes just puts it straight on the ground. There he goes, up to about his knee. That's an Oktoberfest beer glass right there. And as we have done so many times already in this Lead World Cup season, we once again hear the national anthem of Slovenia for Domen Skofic. So Domen Skofic, he celebrates again. It's a familiar feeling for him this year. I'm sure it feels just as good every time. There we go, Domen Skofic first. Jakob Schubert second, taking the bronze medal. Gutierrez upper. They'll vacate the podium and it will be the women's turn next. And unusually, in fact for the first time this season, it won't be Yanni Gambret on the top step here.
Und in diesem Sinne, die Siegerehrung für die Damen der Award Ceremony for the Ladies. Meine sehr verehrten Damen und Herren, heißen Sie unsere Damen.
Crowd just beginning to disappear into the Imst evening. Temperatures plummeted here in Imst over the last hour or so.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our women medalists of the Imst International Federation of Sport.
And once again, I think we might have a slight issue on
And 16.
who goes where. Jane Kim just checked. We get it right at the end.
The medals will be presented by, furthermore, of Marco Scolaris, Italy, the president of the IFSC.
Marco Scolaris, the IFSC president, he will once again be presenting the awards. You can see there Jane Kim on the right, third place. Held the lead for a while, held a healthy lead. Magda Rock took the lead relatively early on and had a nervous wait watching the other climbers, but she held on to it. It's Jane Kim. Looks as composed on the podium as she does on the routes. Nothing seems to get her too worried. No beer glasses for the women. Huge bouquet of flowers.
Representing the nation Slovenia, Mina Markovic.
Mina Markovic takes second. Pretty happy. You can see a big smile on her face. She said when we spoke to her earlier, she's been training hard since the last World Cup. It's been over a month since she was in action in a World Cup, and all that training has paid off. Now then, this will get a good cheer. Magda Rock enjoying every second of this. She's about to be called onto the top of the podium in front of a home crowd. It doesn't get much better than that.
Representing Austria, Österreich, Magdalena Wolf.
There she is. She can only just get onto the top of the podium. It's so high, but she'll be enjoying the view once she got there. Magda's just receiving her bouquet of flowers, and she's getting a beer glass. There we go. Wouldn't mind getting my hands on one of them. I'll have a look if they ordered one too many and there's any lying around. I doubt it, but you never know. That would be a good souvenir. And here in Imst, in the heart of the Tyrol, we will hear the Austrian national anthem. Magdarok soaks up the applause of the crowd, a home crowd. It'll be a good night in Imst for Magdarok. I think there'll be a queue of people offering to buy a beer to fill that huge glass she's been given.
Wunderbare Event von gestern Freitag Bouldering bis heute Abend in die späten Abendstunden. What for highlights from yesterday morning on with the qualifying, and now the big highlight of the best release. And man, thank you to everybody. Super Publikum. Danke natürlich an die Knabel und sein perfektes Team.
So Magdarok, Jenkim and Mina Varkovic head off to the Imst evening with their trophies.
Kommt gut nach Hause. Bis zum nächsten Mal. Have a good coming home. See you next year, perhaps 2017 here. And good luck and much success to everybody.
And the Imst
for the next climbing World Cup in Leeds in Alto, Italy.
And the MC bids goodbye to the crowd. So there we have it, a home win for Magdalena Rock, and Domen Skofic takes win number 3 out of 4 for this season. Huge thanks to Sean Bailey for joining me and to Caleb Thomas for his help yesterday with the semi-finals. We're back in action next week in Arco on the 26th and 27th of August. In the meantime, Sean, what will you be doing in the next week or so?
Just climbing a little bit, just trying to get ready for Arco, and yeah, and then hopefully have a good event.
And I believe we can speak to a very happy Domen Skofic. There he is. Domen, 3 wins from 4. What an amazing season you're having.
Yeah, it's crazy. I can't even describe how happy I am. It's unbelievable. And yeah, I'm speechless.
And what are your plans now before Arco? Do you relax a bit? We saw on social media you just relaxed after the last World Cups. What's the plan for the next week?
Yeah, I mean, train obviously on, but yeah, I mean, like, the season's going, like, in dreams, so I don't know. I just want to continue enjoying the competitions, and it can happen what can happen. So I have no other plans, just to make my best on every comp, and that's it.
Well, we can't wait to see you in Arco. It was great watching you tonight. Thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you.
That was Domen Skofic, rightfully delighted with his 3rd World Cup win in 4. Sean, thank you very much for your help this evening. We'll see you in Arco 26th and 27th of August.
Yeah, thank you.